I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-looking for another load. Well, it's a family tradition, any Rocky Mountain day. Our fathers before us showed us the way. We work for asphalt cowboys and concrete kings, but that's never been a problem, cause we got diesel in our veins. We've got diesel in our veins. I see those big...
What's up, JFW family? Welcome back to the Channel 23 podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to reach out and touch the fleet, to engage and inform everyone with all things JFW. A little bit of a different day today. We got Jim White, we got Dave White, we got J.R. Sands, and Jayson Luber, the Denver traffic guy from Channel 7. And he's also the host of the Driving You Crazy podcast.
Ooh, welcome, Jason.
Welcome, Jason.
Hey, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
If you're driving around town and you want to join us, or if you're in the gym, on a treadmill, wherever you're at, now's the time to join us for the pledge. You always laugh when I say that. Somebody might be walking.
Do you know why, Jam?
Because you're not on the treadmill.
Do you know how many swim meets I've attended that when the Pledge of Allegiance starts, the swimmers stop?
Oh, nice.
Doesn't matter where they're at.
Nice.
They're swimming, treading water.
I like that. I always tell you, I don't go to a lot of gun shows because they're dangerous. And it's not even the people that attend the gun shows. It's like the vendors. They got so much going on. Like most of the negligent discharges at gun shows come from the vendors.
Wow.
So I don't go to a lot. But I did go to the Tanner Gun Show a couple of years back, and all of a sudden, the pledge came on, and I mean, that place shut down. It gave you goosebumps. Everything just stopped.
Nice.
It was awesome. Yeah. All right, here we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Super Dave's not here today because he is having eye surgery, so we want to hold him in our prayers. And then a good friend of Jim and Dave White's, Rich Trimble. He's also been a guest on the podcast. His house is located in between the fires up north, and they are just waiting for the call for an evacuation. So That's scary.
It is.
I mean, even though he knows he's going to be safe because he's waiting for a call to be evacuated, but man, your house,
right?
Like everything that you have, like, is he loading his fifth wheel up right now? I mean, what is...
Rich is such a rock star. He's at work. The grandkids were delivered to the house. Shelly has them, and it's business as usual until they get the call.
Wow.
And that's just how they roll.
I'd be loading that fifth wheel up with all my guns.
But the whole thing, Jam, is what do you take? What is really important? You know, I mean, obviously the safety of your family, but Are you taking that favorite picture or grandma's dishes?
Yeah, I was going to say the memories. Like, you got to take pictures, things that you can't replace again.
Just taking all the guns. You know what I mean?
Hey, Jason, and jump in whenever you want.
Yeah, we are counting on you to just make yourself at home here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Father God, we thank you for the opportunity to go out and do some trucking today. We pray for the safety of our fleet, all of their families, and all the other families and individuals we come across on the road today. We pray for patience and in making the good, safe decisions. We pray to be accident-free and that we all make it back to the comfort of our homes this evening. We pray for healing and 100% recovery for all of our family members that are ill. No matter what, we trust you, God, and it's in Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
As a reminder, anything you hear on today's podcast is not the opinion of JFW or Channel 7's or the Driving You Crazy podcast. This is just the men in this room's expressed opinions mixed with facts. Some of them are checked, some of them are not.
Some of them are just plain guesses.
Episode 142 had 363 downloads. We are at 78.1 thousand total downloads, and we actually dropped 2 followers. We didn't like them anyway, but we're at 602 followers.
What happened to them?
I don't know where they went.
AI bots.
There we go. Could be. It's time for the Dad Joke Challenge. Jason, we always start with fresh blood.
Oh, boy. All right. So what about this one? What is a dog's favorite breakfast?
Woofles. There you go. You need another one?
If you got,
All right. How
keep them
about
coming.
how does NASA throw a party?
Oh.
They plan it.
Planet. Yeah, that's a good one.
And why can't you trust an atom?
Because they're always splitting.
No, because they make up literally everything. Right, there you go. There's your trifecta.
That's
Man,
awesome.
There you go.
good stuff. Could tell you are a true dad.
I gotta confess, I was looking up, and I just kept on getting a lot of pop-ups on unemployment rates and stuff like that. So all the jokes I could come up with was just about unemployed people. Unfortunately, none of them work.
Man, reeled us in on that one, JR.
All right,
funny.
then I'll go totally a different way. What do you get when you have a woman standing in the middle of a tennis court?
I don't know.
A net.
Annette.
Okay. Creative. BD?
How many times can you subtract 10 from 100?
10.
Once, right? You
Yeah.
can only do it once. The next time you would be subtracting. Sorry, I screwed that all up.
I get it.
Right on to the next one. That was so poor.
The next time will be 290.
Yeah, that was so poor. Oh my gosh. What do you get when you cross a snake with a pie?
Snake pie.
A python.
Ah,
I'm ending it there.
all right.
I'm not even going to try and salvage back from the first one. That was horrible.
I already told my joke to Chance Dobler this morning, but what do you call a motorcycle that laughs?
A motorcycle that what?
Laughs?
That laughs.
A Yamaha. I got one more. What do you call a horse that sleeps all day?
A lame horse?
No.
Sleeping Beauty?
A nightmare.
A nightmare.
New employees. We got Enrique Horacio, Lance Nix, and welcome back Fernanda Machan.
Welcome, guys. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome
Yeah.
back, Fernanda.
Lance Nix, that was that moved pretty quick. Him and his girlfriend listened to the podcast. They came in, dropped the applications off, and then the next thing you know, he's working here, and she's got an interview next week, I believe.
Oh, fantastic. I knew
Yep.
Dave was going to interview them both, so yeah, good.
And then Fernanda, she's always a pleasure to have around. She is a full-time temporary employee, but man, she does a bang-up job. She's come back. She's just jumped in. She's dropping her hook and trailers, getting the job done, just going out and getting to that T-rucking. So,
Yeah, hopefully she's listening because we need to talk her into sticking around.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do. She's an asset.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I agree. Anniversaries. Todd Dull hits 2 years tomorrow.
I saw that and that just,
Doesn't seem right.
right?
He
He's
seems
just
like
such
a
a silent warrior.
It's like a 4-year, 5-year guy.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
John Moore hits 7 years on Friday.
And that seems forever, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
Yeah, he was here before I got back, so yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Congratulations,
been here a long
guys.
Yeah.
time. Nat Bisignano, 3 years on Saturday, and Vince Meekins, 4 years on Saturday.
Ah, that's fantastic.
Congratulations, everybody.
Yeah, I love seeing above 1 year anniversaries.
Yes.
You know,
Right.
That's
Yeah.
just a sign of good retention. Birthdays for employees. Marco Gutierrez had a birthday yesterday, so happy birthday, Marco.
birthday,
If you guys don't know who Marco is, he is a night mechanic at Yard 23. And then family birthday celebrations. Gilly's daughter, Aubrey, she had a birthday yesterday. And Georgi's son, Lazare, has a birthday this Saturday. So happy birthday.
Did
Yeah.
you skip one in there, Jam, or did I?
Which one?
Edgar's?
Edgar's son?
Edgar doesn't work here anymore. Yeah, JR pointed that out to me yesterday.
Well, he still may listen to the podcast, right?
He might, yeah.
Either way, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yes.
Yep. Shout out, CC wanted to give a shout out to Scooby and his shop for getting me back up and running. Don Keller, I want to give Don Keller a shout out for running on his day off. We offered up $25 gift cards to Amazon for coming in because we were short. Well, he said he wanted to give his gift card to Chili Dog.
Oh, wow. That was
That's awesome.
That was great.
Yep. Shout out to Dan Hawk as well for coming and working on his day off. Gerardo, I want to give him a shout out for maintaining control on his way up to Wallstrom when that side dump came over into his lane. That could have been really bad because the side dump came over, squoze him, hit his mirror with the trailer, and then Gerardo had a car to his left in the hammer lane. And man, if you watch Gerardo, it's just like he was just going for a ride.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Seasoned
choice
experience.
to let that truck hit him.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
And that was up at Floyd Hill, right, where that right lane is about to end. Mm-hmm. So,
Yes. Yeah. Right at the peak.
Yep. Yeah. It's like you could just tell. Like even when it was done, he didn't yell, he didn't scream, he didn't angry.
Right.
He didn't get angry. He was just like, unfazed. So just real cool on the stool. That's some good stuff.
Yeah, and then I don't think we're at the point we can elaborate about that situation we're in with that, but that driver had no license that hit us.
Yeah. Yeah. We could talk more about that soon, just
Right.
not today.
I get it.
Yep.
I'm just putting that out there.
I'd love to talk about it right now, but
I think what we got from Sergeant Greninger, I think that's out. It's public knowledge.
okay, so here's the deal.
so just to let you know, 2-3 days ago they had inspections going on in Fort Lupton, and they posted up a truck, trailer, and they mentioned like truck driver had no registration, no license, whatever.
Yeah, Mirage Trucking was in front of that truck.
Yeah, they were towing it off.
Yeah. So the truck that hit Gerardo, the driver had no license. Gerardo stopped to get the information, and there's very little damage. We need a mirror cover, a chrome mirror cover. Well, over-the-counter price on that's $854.
Right.
So, there ain't nothing cheap on a Kenworth, right? But anyway, no injuries, no major damage. We just need a mirror cover. The guy has no license. Gerardo gets on the phone with the owner of the company. He says, listen, I just want to handle this directly with you guys. My driver doesn't have a license. Gerardo's not on the leadership team. He doesn't know what to do. Super Day was in an interview. He got the guy's information. Well, JFW, we're not going to stand for that. That's, we're not worried about the mirror cover so much, although I am trying to get that replaced. The guy just texted me right now, as a matter of fact. But we are worried about a company out there that's a bad actor that has a driver with no CDL. Right away, it brings up Monique Trucking out of California that just got shut down for killing that 65-year-old man on Highway 285.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know what these people are thinking. But then the email we got from Greninger, because we sent him the information, he's like, wow. He's like, the insurance that you sent me was their old company. The new company that hit you guys is just the new company. Like, they shut that one down, they got shut down, and they just produce this new. It's like cracking open LLC like egg. Just we're back in business,
That's what gives trucking a bad name. Those companies that hire people like that act like that, and it's so sad that people go to work for companies like that.
Right.
It truly is.
Now, I feel bad for the driver a little bit, right? He should go out and get a CDL like we all have, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we do. But he's probably just trying to provide for his family, right? But still, we're all providing for our families, and we've had people here come from other countries and do it the right way, So for this guy to just jump in a truck, part of me, I understand he's just trying to put food on the table, but the other part of me, now, the owner of the truck, I have no sympathy for that guy. That guy should be shut down and never, ever allowed to own trucks again. We have a guy here that used to be like the driver of that company, and he got pulled over, and they're like, no, you got to get a CDL, and he did, and he's an excellent driver. But we talked about that, and he started off the wrong way, and now he's doing it the right way.
Yeah, I guess, Jim, the position you're in here, could you imagine somebody walking in the door? We had 5 trucks sitting, for example.
Right.
And you're like, oh, you look like a good driver. Why don't you hop in that truck? We've got eight loads to haul today.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Oh, no.
What would you think if we said that was okay?
Yeah, I wouldn't work here.
Right.
I wouldn't want to work for a company that doesn't want to do it the right way. And the thing is it's hard to be the good guys, right? So let's say we did do that and we had an accident and we get sued and we get our door shut. Like, we have 150 families that work here.
Right.
This guy, if he gets sued, he's never going to pay anybody.
Absolutely.
He's not doing it right from the jump. He's not going to do it right when he gets shut down. So
that's exactly right. And not only that, but I see and I get the complaint all the time where people write to me about expired temp tags and expired license plates. And typically when they don't have their tags, they also don't have insurance.
Absolutely.
And so that is making our uninsured motorist coverage a lot more So it's all part of a bigger issue that we see on the roads right now.
I did listen to your episode about the Denver police chief not wanting to bother with those minor, if they're not, committing a serious crime, no big deal. So expired tags, all that. I see you laughing, Brother Dave. I did listen to that episode, and the uninsured motorist thing, that's a big deal to us because we've had accidents with these people. They have insurance, but they're underinsured or they have no insurance. And then we have a $25,000 deductible per accident. So, we get into an accident that's $24,000. That's all on us.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess what I don't understand is how, whether it's the owner of that type of a company, Jam, or the driver himself, I understand that, somebody's trying to provide for their family. I think there's a lot more avenues out there, right? Mm-hmm. But the reward does not, or I should say, the risk does not outweigh the reward.
Sure.
You're risking. It's no different than the gentleman from the 8 seconds one fatal distraction video, right? He took the risk of getting his phone out, ended up killing a person, and now he's in jail for a year, I believe it was.
He only did a year, he got out after a year.
But either way, it's like almost rebuilding your life after that. So
absolutely,
it wasn't worth it in the end.
Yeah, and it makes us sound, when you listening to you guys, feel like we're trying to be righteous. But the thing is it's the law, it's the right thing to do. And if you can't do it that way, then you don't get a truck. Or you don't drive a truck. There's the negligence, like the last episode, Jam, when we talked about it. I've been trying to do this, you make a mistake and you have an accident. But were you negligent up to that point?
Right.
Is that the way you've ran your life? No license, no insurance, no tags, all that kind of stuff.
I mean, here's the other scenario on that, though. Instead of that guy coming over the dotted line and hitting Gerardo, who was calm and cool and collected and didn't squeeze the four-wheeler that was next to him against the wall, what if it had been I don't want to say soccer mom, just the average person driving that just had the bejesus scared out of them with their kids in the car, and unfortunately they overreact and crank the wheel into the car next to them, and all of a sudden they're all spun out, maybe flipped over,
injuries.
You're in a construction zone, so you hit one of the CDOT workers, right?
Right. I mean, worst case scenario, right? Just because that's what happened, but they caused that. And that's where those people shouldn't be on the road. I mean, they just shouldn't be. It's terrible.
That word righteous, it's very interesting to me, Jim, because people are scared to feel righteous. But when it comes to trucking, we do it the righteous way. We're doing it. We're doing it righteously. We do everything to the best of our capabilities to be a good, safe company. So there's nothing wrong with us sounding righteous. When it comes to trucking, I mean, you don't get more righteous. I mean,
Frank Azar isn't rich because you've seen those commercials, right? And so I'm sure you saw those.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, and along those lines, all these years what we've been doing this, Jason, is like you get attorneys like that, and our insurance companies always looked at us and said, "Are you defendable? You don't worry about those guys. It's whether you're defendable." And that's back to doing it the right way, so that did we do a background check? Have we had drug tested? Have we trained the driver? Have we done all that? Yes, we are defendable. It was an accident, and that's what because accidents happen. We've had them happen, and they're horrible. For us, it's the worst. Jam's been he started as a driver, and he's moved himself into a safety position, and then the part of the safety position is he handles a lot of the accidents. So me and Dave used to get a lot of the phone calls from the driver. He now gets those, and the first couple he's handled, it's gut wrenching for him. And he's like, I've never experienced that one. When I get a phone call, that's what I'm worried about now.
Yeah, I've had a couple hysteric phone calls, and it's like, that person's emergency may not really be my emergency in the moment, but it feels like it, you know what I mean? And to try to maintain your composure and not feel a certain type of way driving there when somebody thinks somebody has passed away is kind of hard. And then I got a little bit of, you could call it PTSD. The phone rings, it's a driver. I'm like, right away, you all right? Oh yeah, I just have a question about Paycom. Cool.
Or they start off the call with, "Hey, I have to tell you something," and you're just like, "Oh my God, what happened?"
Right.
Are you
and
good?
then you find out it's something really in your world silly.
Right.
You know, in their world, it's major, and I'm not like
Right.
belittling that situation. It's just that relief because you're like, oh, that's all
Right.
it was.
Yeah,
Thank
like,
goodness.
that's
You know,
that's
it's
not
the
bad at all.
16-year-old calling you
Yeah.
that you know is out tonight until 10 p.m. Right, and
I have an
they're a
experience
new
of that.
driver, and you're like, why are they calling me at 9:15?
Right.
What's wrong?
Just want to tell you I love you, Dad.
Exactly.
I want to give a shout out to Alex Reza for avoiding Old Dominion. That was a pretty big near miss.
That was.
Yeah, Old Dominion just was supposed to yield to our truck and he didn't. And Alex Reza, he got it stopped, and that could have been a bad one.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I feel the Old Dominion truck too. Watching that video clip is because they stayed over to the side. You know, I think they got to that point and goes, "Oh, I was supposed to stop."
Right.
I think it freaked them out.
Yeah.
it was a
Yeah.
mistake.
Yeah.
you know, but yeah, it could have been bad.
Yeah, I know their safety program's got to be pretty tight.
Yes,
So they got
yes.
cameras and everything too. He's probably had a sit down on that one.
Yep.
You know, I know we sent the video, but I wouldn't be surprised if their camera system picked that up. So, Cece wants to give a shout out to whoever left a stuffed hamburger for Teddy in her truck. He will love it. So Teddy is her pit bull. She had to take her pit bull to work with her for a few days last week, or this week I should say, just because there was nobody to watch him. Really, really cool dog. To me, there's two type of pit bulls. There's Teddy, that's just like a sweetheart, you know, and then there's the other ones. And I've had them before, so I get it.
You've had both?
Yeah. Well, I've had one that was like Teddy, and then she wasn't. So,
Yeah.
it's a shame. Rest in peace, Athena. This is from Nicole Gomez. Good morning, Jam. I hope you are well. I want to give a shout out to Super Dave, Casey, and Kendrick. As you know, I have been jumping around trucks, and they have been very helpful. Thank you, SD, for helping me out on Monday. I had a difficult time to park a trailer in a tough spot when I had arrived at the yard very late and needed to pick up my daughter from daycare after hours. SD helped to finish the job, and I still hope to park the truck in that spot one day. She must have been in like 38 or something like that. In times like these, JFW really does treat us like family. So,
Oh, that's great.
yeah. Nice shout out from Nicole.
Yeah, I was walking out there when that was happening. I was actually in the back lot, and
okay.
I think it was like 41 spot or something like that. And I was actually walking out also to help out one of the other drivers too, because he was having a little bit of a tough time. But it's nice to see when the team comes together and we're willing to jump in and just kind of help out.
Right.
You know?
It just comes
makes things flow a
automatically.
lot better.
It makes it easy.
Yep.
doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep.
For sure. I have a shout out for Ricky in the shop.
Okay.
Man, that guy is just going 100 miles an hour every morning.
Yesterday he had his hands full.
This
Yeah.
morning too. I mean, he was leaving on a service call when I left. When I got back, he was washing his hands and getting in the truck and headed to another service call. I'm thankful. I guess we have new equipment.
Right.
I couldn't imagine how busy they would be if we had old junky equipment, because
Right.
we sure seem to have a lot of breakdowns for as new as our equipment is.
And I think that's kind of a surprise for us, because that was the whole point of replacing those Beelmans and,
Right.
you know, going on the 5-year program like, hey,
Right.
we're going to have less trouble. And I don't know that that's true.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly
whole,
right.
whole new bunch of different trouble.
Yeah.
So quick story about Ricky, since you bring him up. I walk out in the shop, not a truck one in the shop this morning, Dave. And I go, hey, Ricky, there's no trucks in the shop. And I'm like, oh, man, I'm sorry, Ricky. I just jinxed you. And he looked right at me and he goes, yeah, but we are a shop. I'm like, okay, well, we're good with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the equivalent of police officers when it's all quiet? Somebody gets on the mics, awfully quiet out there.
Right? Yep. No doubt.
Well, I got a shout out. Want to give a shout out to Greg Wise. You know, between us here in the office and us with the drivers, we always call in, check in on people. How are you doing? How's the family? Things like that. And it's almost like a breath of fresh air when, from the driver's perspective, they give you a call on the way home and they ask you, how are you doing?
Nice.
You know, so it's really nice. It kind of it was almost like a ball out of left field for me.
Right.
But it was nice to get that call from Greg. We had a nice little conversation for about 15 minutes.
Sweet.
And for anybody out there who has firefighter family or anything, shout out to them.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
'Cause
Well, that smoke is bad. When I got back later this morning, I didn't smell it
Talk-
when we got here, Jim, but it's bad right now.
Yeah. Well, talk about us complaining about the heat, you know.
Right.
We complain about not having AC and stuff like that, but those guys are literally, those ladies and gentlemen are literally jumping into the fires.
Right, right.
So.
Yeah, I call those high society problems. Me and Ish were laughing yesterday. The AC wasn't working on his seat. Like, that's a high society problem right there.
Yeah.
Definitely first world problem for sure.
How the fires been affecting traffic?
With roads that open and close, that's a problem, obviously. So Highway 34 remains closed outside of Loveland, and that's a big one. So they had 36 open coming down through Lyons. But then with that new fire that's up in northern Boulder, southern Larimer County, right by Lyons, and they had to on and off close 36 and Highway 66 up there and Highway 7. And so, I mean, that's the only way in and out for those folks that are up there. And then you have this new one that's down here in the southern part of Jefferson County. And so while it's not super widely traveled, you have Deer Creek Canyon Road closed, you have Valley Road coming out of Kent Carroll that's closed. So it can be an impact, but when you see the flames, so I drive into work at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm on the south side, come over the hill and I could see the flames. I could see the glow. Wow. And so when it's close to you, you say, oh, wow, I mean, it's right there. And I have family friends who live on the south side of where the fire is. They've already been evacuated. They're living in a hotel over off of Ken Carroll. And so you try to keep up with it as best you can and try to inform the people the best you can, but it really brings that perspective home. So you might hear of a fire somewhere in the mountains. You go, oh, it's just a fire in the mountains. Well, those people still have homes there.
Right.
You know, I mean, when you see it here in Metro Denver, sure, it's not going to rage across downtown Denver by any means, but still, there's a lot of people that live out that way.
Yeah, the sister, she lives on top of a mountain in Evergreen.
Yeah.
You know, and they've had some fires up there before where we get a little concerned, you know.
Sure.
And she's got 9 pit bulls, and they're not the ones like Teddy. They're
Because she's rescued them, right? Though,
yeah, they've all come off of death row.
Yeah,
you know?
rescued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I do have another shout out. This one is from Tony Martinez. Hey, Super. Sorry for the late message. Wanted to send out a shout out to Ish 0065. Tuesday, Ish took me and Ray up to pit 21, showed us the ropes. He did drop us some good details on how to get in and out of the pit there. It was tight turns and also reminded us not to screw up. Thanks, big homie. Remember, it's just paper-ish. So.
Just paper.
Yep.
I think he put that sticker on his new truck, too.
Good.
Just so everyone knows, Pit 21 is the Young's Ranch on Central City Parkway.
Yep. We're about to talk about that. I just want to see. Jason, do you have any shout-outs for
Oh,
anybody?
sure. I'm going to shout out the entire state of Colorado because it's its birthday tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah, it's Colorado Day, August 1st.
What's
So
next?
happy birthday,
How do we
Colorado.
miss that?
Jason, we added a piece in on what's next because we need what's next, and we need to start looking at that stuff.
There you go.
I looked at the JFW calendar.
Yeah, we
it's
looked
not on there.
yesterday.
Colorado. I think it's 148 years, something like that.
Wow.
Something close.
My goodness.
That's just a guess. I know it's 1876. That's why there's a centennial state.
I was about to say, isn't it a
I did know
centennial
that.
It's a
state?
centennial state because we're 1876.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I remember it being a big deal in 1976, of course.
Right.
I was
Sure.
7 at the time, but I remember it was a big deal.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was also 7 in 1976.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
Were you here in Colorado?
No, I was in Detroit, Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that where you're from, Jason?
Originally, so I was born in Detroit, lived there till I was in between 9th grade and 10th grade. The family moved to Atlanta, so I went where the food was. Finished out of high school in Atlanta, went to school at Georgia Southern University, and then moved out here in '93, and I've been here ever since.
Oh, very
Gotcha.
good.
Yeah.
Our dad grew up in Grand Rapids.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So you grew up in the streets, though.
Well,
of
you
Detroit.
know, only on Devil's Night, which is the night before Halloween, where they burn all the abandoned houses down.
Oh, wow, really?
That's where all the mayhem is. And so that's the night where you rake all your leaves from the front yard, right? And you burn them, because they used to burn leaves at that time, back in those days. And so you keep all the kids away from TP in your house. Or egg in your house, yeah.
Wow.
Gotcha.
Gosh, with all the fire danger here, could you imagine doing
No,
that here?
I couldn't. No way. No way. And my dad would pour like 5 gallons of gasoline on that. And so the flames are getting up into the power lines, and I'm like, seriously, you're going to burn the entire neighborhood down.
Wow.
No hose. I mean, Siri, he just doofus.
Fun times, though.
Yeah, there you go.
Right?
The 70s.
Exactly.
Well, that was a different time. I'm not from the 70s, but I surely remember riding bikes without helmets and
Drinking
lot of
from
those.
the hose,
Drinking
all
from
that,
the
all that
hose.
stuff, right? The crazy stuff.
The
Yeah.
time you knew to go inside the house was when the street lights came on.
Yeah.
I always like to bring the avocado colored refrigerator and appliances.
The yellow ones.
Orange shag.
They say Gen X is the toughest generation because we had to have commercials to remind our parents that they had children. It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are at? Oh, shit. No, I don't know where my kids are at. Thanks for reminding me. So, any other shout-outs, guys?
Just want to mention right quick about Super Dave.
Yeah.
So I know it's not supposed to be a big surgery on his eye, and he doesn't talk about it a lot. And I'm sure I'll murder the details, Brother Dave. Maybe you can help me out. But he's having some spots fixed in his eye because he had cancer in his eye several years ago, and they put a radioactive patch on his eye, shrunk the tumor. I'm going to call it killed the cancer, but our human bodies are so amazing, his eye is now growing extra blood vessels because of the damage from the radiation, and he's having to have that removed. So it should be fairly simple, but he's just a tough guy, family guy. I mean, he's been with us so long. Just a shout out to him.
Yeah.
Grinder.
Grinder. Yeah, good, great guy. Love him.
Jason, I see you have two phones. Is one for drug sales and the other one for...
One's the murder phone.
One's the murder phone?
Yeah, no, I have
before Halloween
So
phone?
the work people, they give me a phone, right? They give me the iPhone, and I do a lot of so on my Driving You Crazy stories, which we can talk about later, I shoot all my own video on the phone. And so it's actually a great video phone, and it's also where when they say we're done with you, here's your phone back. I have my own personal phone,
Right.
and then that's why I have two.
Yeah, JFW, when I took this job, they asked me if I wanted a phone. I was like, I'll keep mine.
Yeah.
So I do see. I gotta ask. You got two of them, and I think one of them's an Android, right?
Yep,
Which
one's
one
an
do-
Android.
which
I
one do you
like the
prefer?
Android, but there's benefits of both. The
Be
Android
careful.
is great because you can drop whatever you want in there. It's
Yeah.
like having a desktop that's an extension of your desktop, right? And then Apple controls everything you do, which is a pain. But they also do great video and great pictures. So,
An easy way to communicate.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
With the
it's texting and everything.
I this, I that,
you can
iPad,
send long text messages
Yes.
on the iPhone that you can't do on the Android. So.
Yeah.
All I heard was Google in the front and the Android in the beginning.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you're
At
good.
first, when he started out, right?
Look,
It's
you
like
started
the
off
Beatles
strong.
or the Stones. You either love the Beatles or the Stones. You either love the Google or the Apple. We're in that world right now.
That's funny. All right, let's get into Young's Ranch, the Young's Ranch Hall. I'm going to talk about what I got here, and then you guys, I'm sure, have plenty to say.
Yeah, it's probably going to be JR on the safety aspect of it, and
Okay.
Brother Jim actually just had a phone call this morning, so
Garrett
hopefully
from
we'll have
Brandon,
more information on it.
Okay. The Young's Ranch Hall. So this is a JFW-only pit. We're calling it Pit 21, I believe. Mm-hmm. Right? It is owned by Brandon Sand and Gravel. We need to be perfect every load there, so go slow and pay attention. The hours are 5 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Gates open at 5 a.m. and there's nowhere to park on Central Parkway before the gates open. So please do not arrive before 5 a.m. The path to the scale and entering the scale is treacherous. Go slow and watch the scale railings. You will need to swing far right to enter the scale straight, but watch the concrete barriers in your trailer to make sure you will clear them and watch the scale railing. When exiting, watch your right wheel trailer on the concrete barrier. This is a small nub you will need to go around and clear when entering Central City Parkway. You will have to pull out, watching traffic and the right rear of your trailer so that it clears the concrete barriers. Go slow. The exit, 8% grade. Speed limit, 35 miles an hour. Stay in a low gear using your engine brake, not your foot brake. If a driver hits anything, you will not be allowed back, not to mention loss of your quarterly safety bonus. This is very serious and everyone needs to pay attention. The pit is tight and we cannot screw this up. Wow, it sounds very encouraging. If I was a driver, I would want to go there. Yeah.
They definitely.
Is there hazardous pay? Do you get hazardous pay to go?
Well, when you're hearing Linda on Saturday and Tracy calling every driver that was going to go up on Monday, it's like we're going on a mission.
Yep.
Here's the secret details, and
So
definitely feels that way. But
you've been there.
yeah,
Let's hear about
I
it.
was there on Friday, obviously getting the load. I was up there with Chris Beam, Jimmy Villagrana, and Gerardo, And it was basically, hey, let's get to know this place so that way we're ready on Monday. Just a few things there, number one is something I kind of noticed on Monday morning is you get there when it's dark, so being able to see your trailer and everything it's going to be a little bit more difficult because it is dark. But as the sun starts coming up, I don't know if it's the time of the year or not, but it does shine in your mirrors as you're getting on that inbound scale. So that's going to be another obstacle or whatever you want to call that there. Hazard, yeah. So we got to definitely have I know we say head on a swivel, but we got to look. We got to go slow and just be careful. Watch all our corners. That way we don't mess anything up on there.
Sounds like a good place to have those tinted windows down.
Yeah. It's dark. It's going to be even darker with tinted windows.
Right.
And I don't think
how hard is it though, JR? I mean, can anybody do it?
Yes. I think everybody is capable of it,
right.
But you just can't be in a rush.
And you cannot
be in a rush at all.
Okay.
If you're in a rush, then you don't belong up there.
Gotcha.
The thing is, and I haven't been there yet, JR, but all the pictures, all the stuff that, again, it's back to one of those things that I noticed if you're starting to pull on the scale and you're going slow and you're paying attention, if you're going to hit something or you're not going to make it on the scale, just stop. That's part of the speed and looking and having your windows down. We don't need to cause damage. We can just stop and back up or
readjust.
We don't need to cause damage.
Yeah, nothing's wrong with stopping, setting your brakes, and getting out.
Right.
In fact, if somebody's behind you, such as when I went on Friday, Jimmy was behind me. He's there as a backup too.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be stopped and setting his brakes and being on the phone. He should be backing me up. We're
right.
teammates, and that's exactly what he did. Like, hey, your left trailer's not going to make it, and obviously I confirmed, like, you're right. Like, it's not going to make it. Let me back up a little bit. So it's all about that teamwork as well.
The beautiful thing about it is it's just us up there at this point.
Yeah,
it is just us. Technically it's a JFW pit.
That's a good thing and a bad thing,
right?
Because that means any damage was caused by us.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, the just us for right now. I mean, Brandon is so excited, you guys, to have that pit open, have a quarry instead of a gravel pit that they can run out of. And, us starting up there again, and it's all about permitting, the public relations that they build, running on that highway, all that kind of stuff. And they've asked us to go up there and be a representative with them running in and out of that quarry because they know we're going to do it the right way. So you guys right now, anybody that's running out of there, not only, are you under the scrutiny from us doing it right, but also the community and the public that's up there. So we have to watch our weights, we have to watch our speeds, we have to not cut people off and all that kind of stuff because it is a big deal for the future of Brandon and us.
It's I don't feel like it's nothing different than what we've already preached here, Jim. We preach it everywhere we go, right? Do it the right way. But I do believe that that's where if you're going up to Young Ranch, you got to step it up, set that bar level up a little higher.
Yep, absolutely.
And something I liked about it, I do like that entrance as far as that having that little bridge overpass. I think it's pretty cool. However, it does bring up some questions on it, right? So winter is going to be the big deal. Icing, freezing rain. We like to stay on top of things, and hopefully, I believe Brandon likes to do that too as well. So hopefully they have salt squeegee or just straight salt, something because that bridge, I'm pretty sure will ice up.
It's going to need something.
Yeah, and Chris Bean called me this morning. He was worried about the same thing. I know we've spoken about this in the office. So all the conversations we have here, I believe drivers have them as well. Maybe they have more. So it's a big help when everybody's involved with giving us information. What can we do to make it better?
Right.
Because essentially it is our pit.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it crazy? We're trying to be so proactive. We're in the middle of a week of a heat wave. We have wildfires happening. We've got 3 of them burning in the state. And in less than 60 days up there in Central City, we're talking about icy roads in 60 days. That's definitely some proactive forethought, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think talking to Garrett this morning too, that you mentioned it, that they're all about safety too. They really want and I think it's the communication of, hey, we're busy getting it open, but we also need some salt up here. Maybe we can haul them some salt up or do that kind of stuff, JR. I think we have to keep communicating about it, because often what we get stuck in was what we're just after producing, and there needs to be that safety piece along with that. So hopefully they'll help us with that.
Right. And I know me and Brother Dave had a conversation yesterday as well about, the inbound scale, things we can do differently, and didn't get a chance yesterday to go up there. However, possibly today or tomorrow, go up there and kind of give our ideas as to make that inbound scale a little bit safer. That way we don't go and knock it down and cause damage, unnecessary damage. And it's just, new pit, new place to go to, and we got to learn the routes there, and any ideas to make it better. Everything helps.
I'm just really impressed how they kept it so quiet, and it was just like all of a sudden, like, hey, we have a new quarry. It's like,
right?
How did you pull that off?
And we're going to start hauling out of there in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, yeah. It was very hush-hush for
definitely
a long time.
incredible. Everyone knew about the quarry,
But
but
just
no
to
one.
know who owned it and
Right.
when it's going to start producing. Right. Gotcha. Okay. But you guys mentioned anything else on Young's Ranch? Sorry.
I don't think so. Just
The opportunity.
the opportunity and the importance of the safety out of there, because it is Brandon.
Right.
It is our number.
It's like
one
an
customer.
honor to be up there.
Yes.
I
Yes.
could tell there was a lot of pride with us going up there and doing it the right way. So, but you guys were talking about, we're worried about icy roads in the near future. We got to make hay when the sun shines, which is right now. We are busy. I would say we're almost on fire, busy,
Yeah.
But
Pun
now's
intended.
now's not the time to be calling off, or if you want to make money, the money's here and it's here right now. So
Yeah.
Show up.
For us, Jason, just so you know, we are a seasonal company, but we do okay during the winter. We haul a lot of salt and squeegee for the roads and stuff.
Yeah.
But this time of year, what we like to be on fire. We like to be just barely getting the loads covered.
Yeah.
And it's hard on our guys. They get tired, and again, we're doing it all legal in the hours and all that kind of stuff. But you got to be here on time, and you got to get the loads. It's a short lunch break, and we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's.
It's got to be all about that grit that we talk about, right? You just got to keep pushing and pushing yourself, because everybody's tired. We are all tired at some point. We wake up early in the morning, and it weighs down on you, on the human body, whether it's stress from traffic or just stress from people themselves or driving, whatever it is. You continue to push yourself for better. So,
But you know what, JR? Grit don't quit.
nope.
Yeah, the news business never stops.
Yeah.
There
The
you
news
go.
never sleeps.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. You made me feel like a baby telling me you get up at 3 a.m.
I get up at 2:15.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty young.
I leave the house at 3.
Am I waking up? I thought 4 is pretty good.
And then the next question always is, because I always whenever I MC an event, I tell them I get up at 2:15. There's always a loud groan. And then the next obvious question is, what time do you go to bed? And it's usually before 7:30. So I have a earlier bedtime than most children.
Sure. I mean, what I really want to know is what time is nap time.
Yeah, well, I don't. A lot of people do nap. I don't nap, so I'm up the whole time.
Gotcha.
There's too much to do.
I hear you.
Yeah. These guys are probably pretty close, but 3:40 for us.
Yeah.
I got to be out of the house. I got to be up
sleeping
at
until
3:40.
3:40.
What about on a Saturday or a
I'll
Sunday?
I'll wake up in the middle of the night, and then I'll force myself to go back to sleep, and I'll get up by 5 or 5:30.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And that's sleeping in, which is really depressing.
Right. I heard that.
I just get that from my brother and my sister. What are you doing tomorrow? I'm gonna sleep in.
Yeah.
Next morning, I post up some picture on Snapchat with my coffee in my living room, and it's like 5:30 in the morning. Sister calls me later on, like, I thought you said you were sleeping in. I was like, I did. I slept as much as I could.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next on my list here is hear the question that you are asked. Listen carefully.
Yeah, I think that's. I know Mikey asks about that all the time. We talk about that all the time, and I think we just wanted to talk about it a little bit more. Is when you're on the radio, and I know, being a driver, being in the truck, and you're calling in the problem with the truck, you're on a different level. You're thinking about other things. Maybe you're thinking about, you're not going to get that load, or maybe you're in the middle of the road or whatever. But when we talk to you on the radio, try to listen to what we've asked you and answer what we've asked. That's the important thing of the situation. You know, we might ask you, hey, is the tread all on that tire, or is the tire in pieces? You know, and you answer, no, the fender's okay. No, we need to know about that tire. You know, I know Mikey just had one the other day with the driver. We lost the belts on the truck, and Mike kept asking which pulley is frozen up, and he's like, no, the belts are all shredded. And Mike's like, I understand that, but which pulley is frozen on the engine so that I can fix that part of it? And then, you know, the driver answered again.
My top's not working.
Yeah, my belts are all tore up. And we're like, we know that. So just try to help us out and answer the question. See, you know, try to listen. You know, take yourself and put it in the mechanic's position that he's trying to solve the problem. Right. So when he asks you something, try to answer it to the best of your ability.
This will help you in your relationships too. You know, if you actually hear the question that's being asked instead of just wanting to give your answer. You know, we know that you know what you're seeing, but we're asking you something differently. So the other day, I know it was about a light switch. You asked the driver, hey, is that light switch on? Well, my lights have been going on and off, but that's not what you asked. You asked about a light switch, and later the driver called you like, oh, hey, I found that switch that you were talking about. Yeah, well, that's what we were trying to ask you about earlier. So
yeah.
My lights are on now.
Yeah. Well, see, what had happened was I stopped at 7-Eleven, and I bought a burrito, and then I got a flat tire. I think it was a burrito.
Yep.
Yeah, we call the switch thing switchology.
Yep.
Switchology, there you go.
Switchology. So what you're saying on your personal relationships, when Holly asked me, my wife, and goes, hey, would you like to go to dinner? And I say leftovers are fine. We're not communicating. That's
right.
I'm missing it.
No, I think that answered that question. Like,
that to me tells me, all right, cool. You're going to dinner, and I'm staying here. Bring me leftovers.
Right. What you need to do is say, I'm going to take you to your favorite place, and then she blurts
Tells
out
you.
her favorite place.
Right.
You say, yeah, exactly. Right. That's where we're going.
That's
and
what I was
off you go.
thinking.
And then it's a win-win.
Yes, exactly.
We're playing chess. They're playing checkers.
That's right.
Have you guys seen the meme? It's a prison guard, and there's a girl locked up. She's on death row, and he's like, what do you want for your final meal? And she's like, I don't know. What do you want?
what sounds good? Yeah.
Next on my list, this is from me. Keep your fluids topped off, right? So I've been doing a little trucking lately, and 3 out of the 4 trucks that I've touched were low on oil. One of them was 2 gallons low to get it on a dipstick. Another one was 1 gallon. You know, just going to these trucks and pre-tripping and finding these things, it's a little bit frustrating that most of the trucks that I've come in contact with were not ready to go. Shout out to Miguel Castrohome, because I took 36 the other day, 0036. Everything was in perfect order. Oil was right at the full line, you know, coolant level was good. Could have used a little washer fluid, but that was no big deal.
Yeah, this type of year.
Yeah, it's like no big deal.
Right.
The inside of the truck was clean. I didn't mind touching the steering wheel. You know, he had a phone holder, which is nice, right? If you don't have a phone holder, no matter what, I mean, we have pretty strict phone use policy here, but you're going to have to touch your phone. It's a lot easier to touch it if it's in a holder up high than in the cup holder down low, right? So whether you're using your maps or whatever, you know, just, if the phone's ringing, like you can't.
You hit the one button.
Yeah, you hit it.
Distracted, yeah.
Count to 2, hit it again. No, I'm just kidding.
So really, though, I got to ask, Jam, were his mirrors clean?
Clean enough where I didn't notice that they were dirty.
Because that man squeegees those mirrors every single night.
Listen,
you see him come out with the squeegee and a spray bottle, squeegees them, and starts going at it.
He had directions written, handwritten directions, like, hey, I have towels on my floor mats. Don't spray them off, meaning with the air. I'll wash them. Don't worry. Like, he doesn't want anybody messing with it. Like, he's got a system. He'll clean up after you. You know, just do what he says. He also has a no smoking and vaping sign or something like that. There was a couple signs in the truck, but he takes pride in that truck, and it was nice to get in there.
Yeah, kudos to Miguel. I mean, that's his office all day long.
I was going to say that, Dave. You have to respect that because that's his home. That's his office. Yeah.
Did you have something you were going to say, Jason?
No. I was going to say the same thing. It's you always people take care of their private things a lot more than a public thing.
Right.
And so, when you're there all the time,
Yep.
that's why you go to a public restroom. It's not as clean as yours at home.
I would hope not.
Yeah, I've never seen somebody go rent a car from Hertz and drive it like it's a Sunday. You know,
Yeah.
Right.
Usually it's nope. We're Fast and the Furious. Why does this car not have any more tires?
So that's
More
how
tread.
you drift.
Or I'm going to figure out how to drift. Couple housekeeping items from dispatch before we move on to Jayson Luber here. Number one, don't fold your tickets. They get scanned at the end of the day or the next day. So if you're folding your tickets before you put them in the mailbox, probably doesn't sound like a big deal for you. But if you've ever tried to scan more than 10 pieces of paper at one time and they are not flat, you're going to cause problems with the printer, and you're going to have some misfeeds, and it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, Rich Trujillo jumped in there and tried to help us out at Plant 2 because it sounds like they've given us a very thin opening in the box over there. You know, we used to have a mailbox. Now it's
Right.
a box that we shove the tickets through, and it's
You got to bring them upstairs.
well, no, I thought they put the box back. I thought that's what Rich was talking about on the radio yesterday. At Plant
Not that
2?
I know of. I was
wonder
there
what-
Friday and I had to take it up to the
I
hatch
wonder what
office.
plant he was talking about.
At the end of the day,
Well, every
I
round.
did a load of rock at the end of the day. Yes,
okay. Well, because
that was one load though.
Because I got it, like you're saying, Dave. If you're just doing one load and you need to drop them off, you can drop it off in the tickets. But if it's at the end of the day, they'd like everything brought up to them. If you ran there all day, you can bring it up at the end of the day.
Which doesn't make sense to me, because we drop the tickets off every round and make sure if we get sent somewhere else, they got their
Yeah.
tickets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah,
Should we call?
I can talk about the Union mailbox. That one you do have to fold the ticket because
Well,
the slot is only so big, and the LG Firestone tickets are this big old sheet.
Right. And that's who asked that
you
we
have
don't
to
fold them.
it.
Is that who it was? And I thought it was Plant 2 yesterday.
I thought it was Union.
it was
Okay.
Union.
Oh, that's
It
right,
was.
because Mike got on there and said there's a lock that's never locked on the box. You can actually just lift the lock up and throw it in, lift the lid
Yes.
up and throw it in.
Man, we are solving problems up here.
Well, are we?
I
I
think
don't
a lot
know.
of misinformation.
Yeah.
So Union has a new box with a bigger slot.
That's what it sounds like.
Gotcha,
Well,
that makes
not
sense.
with a bigger slot. So that was that was Rich's point. Is it's still difficult to get that in there.
Got it.
You can't just fold it without putting a crease in it.
Sure.
Right? It's a teardrop. Then you need
Bring your bolt cutters.
Yeah,
You'll be fine.
that's rough.
No early Wallstrom loads to Plant 12. Guess why we can't bring early Wallstrom loads into Plant 12 anymore?
Young Ranch.
Because the rock doesn't come out of Wallstrom. Exactly. Yep, that won't work anymore. So, definitely if you're the early person, contact dispatch. Make sure you know what they need. Or we may not need anything that morning. So,
Or it's
And
gonna,
I know you put it out there, Jam, as far as the notes for Young Ranch, but just a reminder again, you cannot be up there before 5.
right.
You can't line up the way we did at Wallstrom or anything like that. You got to plan your day to where you get there after they open.
so I guess if you're early, you could go to the Wallstrom tarping area.
Make traffic worse there.
Wait there for a little bit and then go on down the road.
Oh, too funny.
And then one more thing, Cece, she is in one of the super tandems. She wants everybody to know they've been running their own channel, Channel 22. So if you're trying to get a hold of one of the super tandems when they're on a job site, they're not on 23, but they're not ignoring you. They just went down one channel.
Yeah, 22 is what they're at on at the asphalt plants. So
Gotcha.
everybody stays there, and the reason they stay on there is because the other paving trucks are on there. So communication
Gotcha.
again.
There you go.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. All right. You guys have anything else for our discussion before we move on to Jayson Luber?
No, I think we're good.
All right.
Or I am.
Jason, you ready?
Oh yeah.
I appreciate you hanging out with us today. Jason, as a reminder, is the Denver 7 traffic guy, TV anchor, reporter, certified weather forecaster, podcaster at Denver 7, and that's all I got for right now. That's pretty extensive.
You need more. You don't need more than that.
Yeah. But more importantly, probably more important than any of that, you are a dad of 2 girls.
Yep, 12 and 15. They're going into 8th grade and 10th grade at Rocky Heights Middle School and Rock Canyon High School.
Okay. And they are baton twirlers.
Yeah, so they are competitive baton twirlers. What happened was my mother-in-law went to University of Northern Colorado on a scholarship. She used to live in El Paso. She got a scholarship, full ride scholarship, to be the feature twirler at UNC.
Oh, wow.
And so that it skipped my wife and her sister, and then now has been passed on to my daughters.
That's very interesting. Yeah, when I started looking you up, I saw they've been on the news for their baton twirling skills.
We were just at Nationals last week and in South Bend, and they did great. My oldest, she is 4th in the country for her 3 baton twirling.
Wow,
which is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
But they scored. Yeah, so she does. She's
So,
like
juggling.
in the circus out there. She's juggling the 3, and she goes this way and she goes that way, and she's spinning around, and it's crazy.
Now, have you ever tried?
I have tried doing the twirling. I'm not great at it, but I can spin it a little bit. Just a little bit. But no, they are fantastic. And then my younger daughter, the 12-year-old, she can also do the 3 baton now too. But they did no less than 14th in all of their events.
Wow.
They all it was amazing.
Congratulations.
Fantastic.
No, it's
Yeah,
great. It's
that's
a lot of fun.
great.
And then Jaylyn is my oldest daughter. She's a feature twirler, only twirler at Rock Canyon. So
yeah.
she's in the band, in the high school band.
Do you have 2 daughters or 3?
2.
Okay, gotcha. That is old.
I don't need 3. More than that was enough. I said 2 is plenty.
Yeah, you look at soccer moms like, I'm a baton twirling
I'm a
dad.
Baton dad.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, with 1,000 twirlers at Notre Dame University. It was unbelievable.
That's very interesting. And you're actually the former announcer of the United States Twirling Association.
So we used to be at a group called Colorado Twirls and USTA, and all of their events I would do the announcing of all the kids who are doing the stuff, and then I would do regionals and some of the other events. But then we changed to NBTA, so just think of it as a WBA, WBC, the boxing thing.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
They're all doing the same thing. They just have different letters for what they do.
Gotcha.
And so yeah.
Awesome. And how long have you been married for?
21 November will be 21 years, I guess.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
And what's your secret?
Just always say yes. Well, not always, but I mean, yeah. Just be agreeable and actually do a lot of the housework.
How many years did it take you to learn that?
I'm still learning it.
Okay.
19 and a half years.
That's right.
Fair enough.
There you go.
Okay. Now, you've been at Denver 7 for 18 years. That's quite the run.
Well, yeah, and before that, I was at 850 KOA radio for 10 years.
Wow.
And before that, I was a DJ at Cozy 101 and KS 104, and then I worked at K-Big Sports Talk Radio for 2 years with Steve Harms and Sandy Clough. Back in Irvin Joe back in the day.
Wow.
But yeah, so and when I came to Channel 7, I was the helicopter guy for KOA Radio. So I was flying around the helicopter for 5 or 6 years, doing the news and traffic reports. And then went to Channel 7 to do the same things, but they made me also be the photographer. So we had a separate pilot, and then I would run the camera and also report from the helicopter mornings and afternoons.
Oh, wow.
So it was great.
That sounds really fun.
Yeah.
What did you decide you didn't want to do the helicopters anymore? Or did
they decided it for me because all the TV stations they decided Channel 9 started. They said, well, it's getting a little bit too expensive for them to operate, and so they were going to pull out unless they could find a partner. Well, Channel 7 said, all right, we'll partner with you, and then Fox jumped on board and 4 jumped on board.
So there's one helicopter.
So everybody shares one helicopter now.
Gotcha.
And they lease it from this place called Helicopters Incorporated, and they provide the pilot and a photographer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so so when you see the TV stations, they all share one camera shot from one helicopter.
That's outsourcing at its best right there.
Yeah, because it's $1 million or so a year to operate the thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm sure it frees up some airspace too.
Oh yeah, totally. There were
Crazy to see,
times where we would have all 4 choppers from the different TV stations. Sure. Plus, there was a fixed wing from Jefferson Pilot where they were doing when Jefferson Pilot used to own KYGO and a couple other radio stations, and then we had our own KOA helicopter, and then there was a Denver Police helicopter. So you're all over one incident,
Sure.
and it freaks out the air traffic control people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so it's a lot safer, obviously.
Yeah. Now, being in that helicopter, have you ever wanted to become a helicopter pilot?
No, I used to, when I was sitting in the front seat, I would take controls of it because they had the separate controls right in front of me. And so I would fly it. And when you're flying, it's just like an airplane, really, because the rotor system acts like a wing.
Right.
It's the hovering that's the problem. Because you have your feet going and you have the handle that makes the houses get smaller, and then you have this thing in front of you that makes you go sideways, and everything's like a quarter turn behind. So you start drifting right, and you start trying to bring it left. Well, if you don't come back right as you start drifting left, you're going to go hard left.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
weird to think about.
I did a discovery flight out of Rocky Mountain Airport once, and the hovering was a thing. So this guy taxied out, I guess you would call it. He just hovered out.
Right.
And I mean, and it was like he was just like in a hovercraft, just straight as can be on this runway. And then we took off and we got up to altitude. He let me fly to this abandoned airport. To me, I thought it was more like a boat. Like you're trying to keep your heading, you know what I mean? Then we got there and he let me try to hover a few times, and that thing was touchy, man. It was like, I think I have it, and then all of a sudden, like, it's doing its own thing, and he would, grab his controls and take over. But Jim, I know you mentioned it. I'm still pushing for one day you to come in and be like,
Yeah, I just watched one go by this morning. I'm like, I should go do that.
You should. I could picture you with the helmet and the mic.
Yeah.
It'd be cool.
Yeah.
It's fun. I have over 8,000 flying hours in the helicopter, so that's plenty. I'm good.
You're good, huh?
I'm good. I have plenty.
Okay.
Plenty of time.
So that just reminds me kind of what you're saying as far as when you're putting in one input, you have to actually counteract that input. It just reminds me like the old trucks and the old cars, before, I guess, power steering or whatever, where you kind of go to the right, but then you come back to the left to make sure it stays straight and all that. So
Yep, exactly.
What's the culture like over at Denver 7?
The culture is great. We just actually moved from our old building that we'd been at 6th and Spear for the last 50, 60, whatever years, to a new facility over right across from Coors Field. So it's a brand new building.
Nice.
It used to be the WeWork building. It's right next to the public storage place with a green tower.
Yeah.
We're right across the street from that. And it is a phenomenally new building. It looks great. The studio's great. All of that is fantastic. And the culture inside the TV station, it's like a family, especially for the morning show, because we are spending 4 hours every morning together. And so it has to be more like a family. The afternoon, they have these breaks. They'll do the 5 o'clock news, and then there's a break. Then they do 6 o'clock news, and then there's a break. And then, so it's different flow for them than it is with us, because we're on constantly for those 4 hours.
Gotcha.
But the TV business overall has gone through a lot of changes. And it's challenging, like the newspapers from 20 years ago, where there are fewer viewers for TV stations, and so more people, especially in the afternoons, are not watching as much because if you're home at 5:30 or 6:15, it's not that big of a deal. But most people in the morning still have appointments to get to at a certain time. School starts at a certain time, work starts at a certain time, meetings start at a certain time. So mornings are still important for people for television and for radio. So that's so that helps us out in the mornings because it's still appointment TV. Most people, when they're watching, they can watch it later, right? Whether your Netflix shows or any kind of shows that you watch on TV. What you're watching live are live sports, because nobody's really taping that stuff, unless maybe the Olympics. And you're watching live news, especially in the morning, or with events like wildfires or floods or whatever is happening.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Do you ever have somebody come on board that's not a good culture fit? And then
no, there's always, look, every business, it doesn't matter if it's our business, your business, any business, there's always a cancer, right?
Right.
And know everybody knows that person, and you wonder, why hasn't management dealt with this person and made them go away? Because and then what happens is management, you think, well, are you not seeing what's happening here and how it's changing the culture of what you're doing?
Yeah.
And so it gets very frustrating.
You call that reporting?
Everybody critiques everybody in the business. We all know each other at the different stations, so yeah.
Sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's the craziest story you've ever covered?
Let's see. There's one I remember. All right, I'll start with the radio one. There was a huge crash up north around Longmont. It was icy, foggy, and it was like a 50-car pileup. And I remember I got on scene, and I'm walking through there trying to find people to interview. And I mean, it was still an active scene. There's still firefighters.
Sure.
And there was a helicopter, a medical helicopter had landed. And I'm walking up on this scene where this person had just been taken by the medical personnel and put into the medical helicopter, and there were still their jeans that were cut off of them, and they were soaked in blood and still steaming. And it was just, but you see, and it was just horrible just to see that. And looking at the devastation, when you look at a crash, if you punch a truck, the side of a truck or a car or whatever. It hurts, right? And it's not going to move.
Right.
But put it at 40 or 50 or 60 miles an hour, and you get into a crash, and look at how that metal moves, and it's almost like it's fluid.
Right.
And imagine what that's doing to your body.
Right.
Right? Yeah. And so it's just those kind of images. I used to say, we used to average seeing a dead person a week in the helicopter because we were dispatched to crashes and accidents and murders and all those kind of things.
Right.
I remember it was up in North Denver somewhere, up off of Pecos. There was a person, they found him, and we saw it, and there were no arms and no legs.
Oh, wow.
And so it was just something like that. There was a plane crash. This was back in my Channel 7 days in the chopper. We heard of a plane crash up by Netherland, and what happened was, so it was a really windy day. So the air personnel from the medical guys couldn't get up there yet, and we were already near there. So they said, hey, can you go up and try to find it and hit it with the GPS and tell us how to get up there? So we start flying up there, and it is so windy, we are getting pushed down with the wind, and we were maybe 100 or 50 feet above the trees, and I think we're going to go down.
Wow.
I swear, we're going down into the trees, and somehow the winds ease up, and we start flying again. But found this guy who had crashed. It was 2 people in this airplane. The passenger was trying to help the pilot, who was seriously hurt. He had to run up to the top of the slope, make a call, and then run back down to his friend. And then run up, and then come back down. And we found, and somehow, miraculously, we found this guy. Hit the GPS, sent it to the Colorado National Guard. They had to send in, they had to drop in people from a helicopter to get down there because it was so rugged, the terrain. Unfortunately, the pilot died, but the passenger was saved because we helped get rescue personnel up there faster than him, just waiting and waiting and waiting. So while it was sad, it was also, I'm glad we could help somebody.
Yeah, when you're the eye in the sky and you're the first one there, I mean, they rely on you to do things that you probably didn't put in your job description. Like, by the way, you're probably going to have to help save people.
Yeah, right. And I remember Columbine. I covered a lot of stuff with Columbine for that time, and that was rough.
Let's switch the mood. What's the funniest thing you've ever?
The funniest, right?
I've had enough of that.
I can't think of really funny helicopter things because those were most of the good stories. But
okay, we'll come back if you think of something funny you could tell us. Now, is TV and news, is that your dream job? Obviously, you went to school. Is this what you thought you would be doing when you were a kid?
I had no desire to do TV. I still don't.
Okay.
TV is a means to an end, right? I grew up when I was real young, 5, 6, 7 years old. I used to listen to AM radio, and I still do to this day. So I had an AM radio in my bedroom, and I would flip around the dial at night. You can hear stations from around the country. And if you guys maybe in your trucks, you can do this, right?
Yes.
Because you guys are in the trucks listening to radio all the time. So I used to listen when I was in Detroit. I could pick up stations in Cincinnati, Chicago, Toronto, New York City, even Atlanta. And I thought it was the most fascinating thing that somebody could be sitting in a room in front of a microphone and it's broadcast somehow. And me in my bedroom, I'm hearing it out of my little radio. It was fascinating. I said I had to be a part of it. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just wanted to talk on the radio. And so that was my passion. Now, I liked geology and hydrology, and I almost thought about coming out to the School of Mines and getting a hydrology degree. But then I thought, all right, let's just follow the passion.
Sure.
And try the broadcasting thing. And so when I came out here, I started working at K-Big Sports Talk Radio as behind-the-scenes guy with Steve Harms and Sandy Clough. And Steve, funny, he used to work at Channel 7 as a sports guy.
Okay.
And I've now exceeded his term when he was there. But yeah, so I wanted to always be a radio guy. I didn't really want to do TV. It just worked out that way where Channel 7 was looking for somebody. I knew people there, and it just turned out to be a good decision.
And what do you mean it's a means to an end? Why is TV a means?
Well, look, I don't care if I could be driving a truck or work at the Walmart, it doesn't matter. My working life is to make sure that my family is fed and that my girls are safe and happy and make sure that they have a good life. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. There are people in TV, and I heard this from somebody one time saying that our greatest danger is thinking too highly of ourselves.
Sure.
And I try to never do that. And so there's a lot of people in TV and on radio that do.
Sure.
I am not above any job. Now, there are things that I wouldn't want to do. I mean, the guy who's cleaning out the porta potty. I mean, there's a lot of jobs out there, and that's not one of them I want to do. I'll go choose something else first. But if I have to, I will, right?
Sure.
So that's what it means. It means that I will do whatever it takes to make sure that I take care of my wife, because I made a pledge to her, take care of her and my kids, because that's what I'm supposed to do.
I love that. Who comes first, your wife or your kids?
Well,
depends what your wife tells you.
Well, no, I think she would agree that probably the kids come first and then we come second.
Okay. I like that.
I think that's that part of that vow. That's an interesting question, Jam. It's part of that vow as a couple. And I mean, it's not in the vows,
right.
But that when you agree to have kids, that's what your duty is. You know, your wife and your duty is to take their kids. Because I just had a conversation with a friend of mine, and I was just telling Dave yesterday, not to interrupt you there, Jason, but you know, my kids are older now, Jason, and they're great adults. And it was our goal, you know, is the whole thing. And we go to dinner and we have drinks and we enjoy each other and we talk about adult things. And I'm like, man, you kids are some special adults, you know. And I'm like, I can tap my wife on the shoulder and go, hey, we did all right here, you know.
Yeah, we never allowed our kids to have a phone or a tablet or anything when we would go out to eat, even when they were young. Mm-hmm. We would make them play a game of something. You know, you go to the the Cracker Barrel, and they have the triangle game, right? The T game, right? And so, or whatever, the drawing, and even to this day, so we are having conversations with our kids at dinner, and everybody's not on the screen, and so that, you know, it's one of those. A lot of people that I know, they have kids, and almost as an accessory. I like my kids. I want to like my kids, and I want to have a relationship with them longer than now. And
my view is a little different. You know, with my faith, it's God first, my wife second, and then Bella. But it's all in context too. I mean, there's times where Bella's going to come first because, you know, Bella's a kid and she doesn't get to pick what she wants to do on a Saturday. We gotta entertain her and come up with the things. So collectively, we do put Bella up, right? But yeah, it's God, wife, then kids. But I did learn something about Bella yesterday I never knew. She is the youngest person in her class. Bella's going to be 10, right? She's going into the 5th grade, okay? All of the kids that are in 5th grade are 11 right now, going to turn 12. So she is ahead. Like, she's going to graduate when she's like 16 or 15. Like,
17, we did that with our kids that have September birthdays, and the cutoff is October 1st.
Gotcha.
So we could have sent them like that early, but we held them back. So they are the oldest in their grade rather than the youngest.
Gotcha. I told Bella yesterday, you could get held back and still graduate on time.
Yeah.
Right. She got a cushion there.
She got a little.
I don't know if I'd share that.
I mean, I just, you know, to me, it's just. So she's with older people a lot, and even the kids that she's at school with are older. You know what I mean? So
a year older at a young age is a big
deal. Yeah. So it's like, you know, like for her to maintain her self-awareness and not be impressionable about kids things that she's being presented at a younger age. Yeah, I'm just really impressed. And
when is her birthday?
August 20th, my anniversary here at JFW. Okay. So I asked her yesterday, sorry to take away from your girls, but you know, we're talking about our kids here. You know, I said, so what are you going to do when you're 15? Because you're going to have to start paying rent. And she's like, I still want to be a police. I'm like, all right, Bella, I'm going to support that dream. If you want to be a cop, let's go. You know, so
that question's pretty easy for me, just because I just have my son,
right?
And he's 9, going on 10 in December. You know, I love the kid, but he's growing too fast.
So is he in 4th grade? Going into
4th grade.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
okay.
I just learned this weekend that he is a 10.5. He is a full size bigger than me for shoe size.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Wow. But I hear a lot of parents of sons, especially, are holding them back as long as they can because they will be bigger, stronger for sports. That's when they get to high school. And on any advantage to get a scholarship.
Interesting.
That's no need because he is the tallest one. He sticks out like a sore thumb.
Wow, you're sandbagging your kid. Listen, son, we're going to hold you back a year.
It's red shirting.
Red shirting?
My wife wanted to do that, and Sam was ready. I'm like, he's got to go. So he graduated at 17 too.
Nice.
Yeah.
But Dave's not saying anything, but Dave's September, and he graduated young.
Did he?
I mean, yeah.
And look at him now.
And look at him today.
Yeah, look at him today, right?
Brother Dave, has Sam gotten to the age, or maybe he's already done it, to where he kind of politely challenges you? You know, like, I'm stronger than you.
Or unpolitely.
You know, he has never done that,
Yeah.
but he definitely gave us some interesting stories about college.
Yeah.
After the first year up there. Yeah, some interesting stories have come out about just, about the swim team and, a couple little get-togethers, on the Saturday night when they're not swimming competitively, right? They're practicing, but they're not in that competitive season. And, pretty soon somebody comes up and pushes somebody and you got to push back. And, I was like, whoa, I didn't know you kind of did that.
I didn't know you could push people, Sam.
Right. Yeah.
Well, excellent
He
job.
gave me some tips on going low and snatching a leg fast.
Nice.
Well, it's funny because my son called me an old man on the weekend. I'm like, what?
Really?
Like, excuse you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he laughed, I laughed, and then I changed the Wi-Fi password.
That's funny. Jason, if you weren't doing TV and radio and all that stuff, what would you be doing?
Probably I would probably would have stayed in radio. Because radio is my first love. I still listen to AM radio stations at night.
Right.
You can pick up KNX out of Los Angeles and KMOX out of St. Louis. And so I still do that. I just love radio, especially AM radio.
With you being into like the science behind it, have you ever got into like ham or anything like that?
No, I didn't get into ham radio because that's just person to person, which
Sure.
is fine. The old Art Bell, he used to do that kind of thing, right? And Art Bell was great.
Right.
But I like the broadcasting part of it. Just
Got it.
I'm probably the only guy in my TV station that knows the difference between amplitude modulation and frequency
Right.
modulation for AM, FM radios and all that stuff. So
Brother Dave, what was
Using
that
the atmosphere
movie?
to bounce the signal?
Yeah,
all that,
yeah, atmosphere.
Yep.
What was that
Exactly,
movie
it's too powerful.
that you mentioned? I watched it, and it was about.
With Mel Gibson.
Was it Mel Gibson?
The alien?
But no. The girl's in the radio room. She's broadcasting. It was during war. It was in Germany.
Oh, right. No, that was some of the very first radio. It was during World War II. She was in Europe.
Yep.
The Nazis had taken over, and they were trying to capture her.
They were trying to find her.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, no. I take it back. It was her uncle, and she had come along and had no idea it was her uncle because he would do it
Right.
privately. No one knew because if anyone in the family had known, right,
But
which his wife knew.
But she took over, and there was a soldier
There was.
that listened
Yes.
to her.
Yeah, it was like a 6-part
Do-
miniseries.
do you know what-
I always thought it fascinating in World War II is the Army using folks from the Navajo Nation to
Communicate.
they're code talkers, really.
Yeah.
'Cause-
Right.
Yeah, because nobody knew their language, and so they could talk
Was
using
it-
Navajo.
Was
Right.
that World War II or Vietnam?
I think it was World War II.
In the
Yeah,
World
it
War
was-
II.
they did that too. I know they did in
for the
Vietnam,
Pacific
but
Theater there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So after smoke signals.
Yeah.
They're sending smoke signals today. It's gibberish.
Right. Jason, you actually have the Jayson Luber Traffic Guy Facebook page. Honestly, I got lost watching the video.
Oh,
And
no.
I should send you videos because we
Okay,
have
sure.
and
I'll take 'em.
you could use them.
Yeah.
They're pretty amazing. But you have some pretty extreme videos yourself on that page of just we call them lowlights instead of highlights. It's like the worst of the worst things that could happen. Like
Right.
you had the boat. Did you have the guy trying to pull the boat out?
Oh,
of
yeah,
it?
yeah. But holding on, he was like
oh,
a
yeah.
trailer hitch.
Yeah.
Wasn't that
what
like
are
a
you
week
thinking?
ago or so? I
just
think
saw
I saw
that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
just
so-
holding on.
Right.
Anybody who wants to watch some good videos, check out the Jayson Luber Traffic Guy Facebook page.
Nice.
And then you also have the Driving You Crazy podcast, which JR was a guest on a couple weeks ago, or your last episode.
Yeah.
I did listen to that episode. I listened to one other episode with the Denver Chief of Police business. So I do like your format there. And you started talking about it with Jim, but why did you create this podcast?
It was really created for me. So back years ago, this is about 8 years or so ago, we had a producer on our morning show that had these company goals, and the company goal was for him to start a podcast. So he was looking for people, and he asked me to do it, and I ended up having to do all the work, and he would sit in, like you guys, just sit in and chat, right? But, Jam, you're probably doing all the work, and these guys are just sitting around freeloading.
Not true. Not true.
No, it is true, Jason. Because we all leave and he's still here.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. So I would end up having to do all the work, and he would sit in, and we would just chit chat about different things, and I would have to come up with different traffic and transportation stories I would find, or do I have a series of questions that come into me. It's called Driving You Crazy, the news stories, not the podcast. So, and people write to me about this issue or that issue about their roads. My last one, I air them every Tuesday, was the guy asked me about the HOV lane on Santa Fe. And if there's any enforcement that's on the HOV lane, and will CDOT do anything about it and make it into a regular lane or something like that? The short answer is no. There's no enforcement. They don't care about it because because it goes through Denver, Littleton, Sheridan, and Inglewood, and so they all say with their short segments, it's hard to patrol through there, and they really don't care because they're looking for one person, and it's only certain times of the day are the HOV. It was the first HOV lane in the city, and so no, they don't do enforcement down there. Denver doesn't care because it's a low level priority offense, so you'll never get pulled over by Denver, and so eventually CDOT, what they want to do is make it an all-purpose lane or make it a toll lane where they're going to charge you all the time for it, or move it over to the right like they have on South Broadway, where they have it only for the buses, something like that. But that's years down the road. Anyway, so we would do stories like that. And then I decided, well, I'd like to do interviews. So, because I really like talking to people.
Sure.
Right? I mean, that's the one reason I like to do interviews. A lot of people like to read books to know things. I like to talk to people to know things. Because I find out that's a lot more interesting for me, listening to people tell their stories, than to read about them. And so I got an audio board and a doohickey that I was telling Jim about, that I can record phone calls from my telephone.
That would be an iRig 2.
The iRig 2, IRIG 2. Yeah, like $50. There you go. We wrote it down. A little audio board, right?
We're going to call you next week.
Okay, that's
But Jason, it's important. You need the auxiliary send function on that.
Yes, you do. That's exactly right. Because you got to give them the mix minus. Because in the helicopter, if you don't have mix minus, you hear yourself back a half a second, and that's really challenging.
Oh, that would be.
That is challenging. And you can't take off your headset because you're talking on television and you're doing the whole thing.
I didn't write down the mix minus.
Let me ask you guys this: what's the new budget? Keep going, Jason.
Yeah, and so eventually Joseph Peters is his name. He went to work for our national team after a couple years, and so it left me doing the podcast by myself, which is fine. And so then I started transforming it into doing more and more interviews. And one of the reasons to do the interviews to learn about people, but also I figured if those people shared the podcast, I would help grow, right?
Sure.
And I'm not limited because of the internet with Zoom, and I can record out of the computer.
Right.
I can talk worldwide, and I've talked to people in Europe all the time.
Wow.
There's like 7 or 8 hour time difference. You have to figure that out. But I've talked to people in Europe. I talked to people around the United States. Interviewed a guy yesterday from Virginia, and about dangerous trailers, mostly about passenger trailers and how people aren't hooking up their safety chains or having homemade trailers without the proper safety chains, and then the trailer comes loose because they didn't hook it up properly and ends up killing somebody. And that's his whole campaign. But anyway, it gives me a chance to talk to these people, and I have a kick doing it, and it's a lot of fun, and I've been...
Could tell you enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly.
Good stuff. And how long ago did you start it? I'm sorry.
Oh, about 8 years ago. So it was November of 2016, and I release them every Wednesday morning, and I do on average about 45 a year.
Okay.
And so those are a lot of episodes to do by yourself. And I'm doing my Driving You Crazy stories that I go out and research, interview, shoot the video all myself. Those go every Tuesday. And then every morning I'm on the air from 4:30 to 8:30, or so. And so I have...
You're busy.
Yeah, so I'm doing a lot of stuff.
And how many? You're at like 349?
340-ish, yeah, somewhere in there.
Okay. And if you miss a week, do you panic?
No.
Okay.
I might, if I miss a week, it depends. I might either just let one sit. If one's really good, I'll let it sit there for a couple weeks.
Gotcha.
Or I will take one from the archives and replay it.
None of ours are really good. So
Oh, is
we
it?
can't let them
We
sit.
don't have that problem.
Except today's.
Okay.
Except for today, yeah. We're gonna let this one
This will be
sit.
the best of
Yes.
on the best of CD.
And do you mind? And you don't have to answer if you don't. But what kind of reach and following do you have? Do you look at those metrics?
I do look at them. It's usually somewhere in the 500 to 800 downloads a month. And look, I'm happy that anybody listens to it.
Right.
Seriously, I mean, it's really astounding. Do I want it to have I'm not Joe Rogan by any means.
Oh, we kick his ass
Yeah,
every week.
I mean, I would like to have more listeners, and that's fine. I don't do it for money. I have been offered, but I said no. I want to keep it journalistically pure.
Sure.
The TV station doesn't offer me anything for it. I do it on their time, on my time as well. So it's fun. It's also frustrating, but I hope that people like it and get some use out of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What's frustrating about
I was
it?
just going to ask that. What's frustrating?
Yeah.
Because of the pieces you do?
Yeah. So it's
Gotcha.
just finding the time for it, booking the people. Because all of a sudden I'm like, all right, I need somebody and an interesting topic, and I'm like, what am I going to do next week? And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, divine intervention provides me with, here you go, here's 2, 3, 4 topics, and they're great.
And they're all traffic related?
They're all transportation of some
Transportation
sort,
related,
so not
right.
necessarily traffic.
Got it.
Like I interviewed, that will be coming up in a couple of weeks, this guy who is a he works for, he's a math professor at a university, I think it's Rhode Island, but he is also an actuary, and he can talk about the math behind your insurance rates and why your insurance rates are higher for certain groups than other groups, and there's mathematics behind all of that and how they figure it out. So it's like high-minded, but it's still transportation related.
Yeah.
I talked to a guy from GM, their safety lead for GM. He actually used to have dealerships he was in the Army, and then he had dealerships in Russia. And it was fascinating to talk to him about that aspect and the safety aspects about people stealing cars and all of that for General Motors. So he handles all those issues.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What drives you crazy out on the road?
Oh, well, on the road, all right. So on the road, it's going to be people who don't know how to use a continuous lane.
Truck drivers.
No, truck drivers are the least of my worries. It's what you say, the four-wheelers, right? But it's people in a continuous lane. So coming off of an interstate and making a right, and you have your own continuous lane that continues on, right? And then you can merge over left.
Right.
I hate it when people stop there and they're looking back to their left. It's a free continue. It's a protected
you don't
lane.
Stop there.
Just keep going.
Yes.
I hate that. That drives me absolutely bonkers.
Is that the biggest pet peeve?
No, that's not the biggest one. Is probably people who don't put their shopping carts away at the shopping cart.
No
Whoa.
way.
Oh,
He
yeah,
just
I hate
opened
that.
up a can of worms.
I'm seriously, that's
Jason,
the worst.
You are our people.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I'm telling you, that is the worst
We've
thing.
done that. We've done entire episodes.
I want to go. I want to
to
go talk to these people and say, "Will you please take your card and put it back?"
You gotta call
you
up.
know, especially if they're parked up near the front. So let's say there's the grocery store. You have this King Soopers or Safeway, and then there's a liquor store nearby, right? And somebody will park there. And then they take their cart and they go to their car, and then they just leave it at the front because the cart corral isn't near them. So they just leave it up there on the front on the sidewalk. Walk it back.
What do you do with that cart when you see it? Do you
I want it. Well, no. Should I go take it? I probably should.
I
But I don't know. I don't. I
don't.
mean, I would want.
You
that.
just let it drive you
I have to
crazy.
be careful about confrontations with people because people recognize me when I'm at the grocery store and I
Yep,
don't.
they'll
need to
have
get,
the phone out.
Yes, and I don't need to get in trouble.
Jayson
for that,
Luber
so.
goes wild.
And then the people who refuse and won't learn how to zipper merge. That also
We talked about that on the podcast.
Because CDOT
Right.
used to, for a short time, they were trying to get people to do the zipper merge right. And there's one sign that I know of in Denver. It's coming off of, it's coming off of westbound 6th Avenue. I guess it's also eastbound. So 6th Avenue to go north I-25. There is a sign right there on the right side that says merge at this point. That's the only sign that I know of around. But any type of merging where you get a zipper merge, it moves traffic faster. It's proven to work. It takes people to do it.
Right.
Gotcha.
If everybody doesn't do it, then no, it won't work ever.
Interesting.
It's just as bad as left lane drivers. For example,
Oh,
I go home to I live in Brighton, so I take I-76 eastbound. There's not a lot of traffic there,
Right.
and you'll have somebody just hanging around in the left lane doing 65, 70, and I'm like, there's nobody in the right lane. Why aren't you getting over? And I don't like to flash my lights. I don't like to be that person. So I just kind of hang around, not too much, too close to them or anything, but hopefully they get the idea. There's a car behind you that wants to get by. Sometimes I just hate it. I have to get in the right lane and pass that person in the right lane. And
but why don't you just do that? Why don't you just say, forget them, just go around them and move on about your life?
Because usually when you pass on the right lane, at least I do, I kind of give them that look. You just look over and you're like,
not the side eye.
driving this car.
You give him the side eye, JR?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the side eye.
The side
You
eye.
could give him the side eye. You didn't
I
high
don't
beam
give
him.
him
You
the
didn't
side
give him
eye. I
the
give him
finger.
the full blown like
Oh, okay.
the Kermit the Frog.
You don't
type
tell them
deal.
it's number one, right? You don't tell them.
Yeah, wave
No.
with all the fingers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Get off my
And
lawn.
the courtesy wave. People are not doing the courtesy wave anymore.
We get on here at 270 in Vasquez right
yeah.
here, Jason, and somebody will let me in. It's a habit we'll roll down the window and wave. And people sometimes you see them in your mirror. They're like waving, like they waved at me, right? Yeah.
Were you in the Jeep
I
or the
think if
Bronco?
you bring back the courtesy wave, people will then respond in
Yes.
kind, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
What do you do if they don't wave back?
I just slam on the brakes.
I keep waving.
That's right.
I continue to wave.
Yeah.
And then I make eye contact and continue to wave.
Jason, just so you know, the shopping cart thing is big around here. You could tell a lot about a person by whether or not they put the shopping cart
Yes.
away. Jim and his wife, they'll spend 30 minutes putting shopping carts away for other people.
My wife has gotten seriously. She'll go someplace in the parking lot and get one and return it now, and I'm like, can we just go shopping?
You're blaming your wife? You did yesterday.
I did. Well, I did
wow.
yesterday. Yeah.
Wow.
See, stores should give you a 10% discount for
Exactly.
doing
Perfect.
that, right?
Great idea.
There's
Or sure for bagging your own groceries when they don't have enough.
Yep.
There's a YouTube personality. He's like the shopping cart narc or something like that. And he like pulls people over that aren't putting their shopping carts away. It's hilarious.
No, he puts magnets on.
Oh yeah, he's got what does he call them? Lazy bones. He has lazy bone magnets, and then they get out. They take the magnet, they throw it at him. They go to drive away. He throws it back on their car. It's hilarious. So, all right. You guys have any other questions for Jason before we move on?
I do.
Not
Yeah.
great.
I actually got two of them, Jason. I guess the first one is, obviously we're a trucking company, so what's the most brought up issue that you possibly get from the general public about truckers or trucking, the trucking industry?
The truckers shouldn't be driving during rush hour. Shouldn't be in the left lane ever, especially in the high country. That you always use the right lanes in the high country because they want to go as fast as they can. Right. But a lot of it is about they shouldn't have the truckers driving during the rush hour because they believe that is slowing down the overall pace of traffic in the mornings and the afternoons. Well, you guys can't do that. I mean, you have as much free right to the roads as anybody else.
Right.
So, but I hear a lot about that.
Okay.
What do you tell those people?
I tell them what you want to tell them. No, I tell them I tell them the trucks have the free right to be anywhere they want to be, and yes, you might want to go faster, but just look. How much time are you spending on the road extra because you think that truck is blocking your way? And just think about what that truck is delivering, whether it's rock or your Walmart delivery or your Amazon delivery, whatever it is. Think about that because, you want them to deliver to your house the next day and get your doohickey, whatever it is, that you just ordered on Amazon, but you don't want them to slow you down during the morning rush.
Yeah, you don't want to see them.
Yeah, right.
You don't want to see the truck. Yeah.
I'll take a step further. Sometimes I get stuck behind a slower car or a truck or whatever, and I've learned over the years that I get a little more patience and stuff like that, right? But sometimes it does protect you from things that are going on up ahead or that's going to go on up ahead. There's times where you're like, I need to get around or whatever, and you finally do get around, but because of the delay of however long it was, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is, it has saved you from getting into a wreck that just happened those 5 minutes before.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. You pass a light and a minute later there's an accident.
Yes.
So,
Right.
So I like to see it that way.
Yeah.
My other question would be, is there a busy season that you see like with traffic reporting? Right now I know we mentioned the fires, so that gets pretty busy as far as road closures and things, but without that being present, is there a season where you become a little more busier?
It's all season. That's not during the summer when the school's out. There are so many people that are in. My wife is a teacher. She teaches speech and communications at Rocky Heights Middle School. And so when the school year is out, and you can probably tell from you guys driving around during the summer months, especially now July, from 4th of July till mid-August, it is a lot lighter than normal. Now that doesn't mean that there's no traffic jams, because there are, but in general there's lighter traffic. There are so many people. There's 70,000 kids or something at Jefferson County schools, and you put Cherry Creek and Douglas. I mean, all of the schools, right? Put all of those people on the roads, you have traffic jams. You take them off the roads where they're not driving every single morning at the exact same time, then you have all this extra traffic. Right. And so it changes traffic patterns when school starts up, and now they start up so early. My kids are going back to school here in another week. And so that will start changing the traffic patterns, and then as around here, as Adams 12 gets going and Denver gets going in the next couple of weeks and month, you're going to see a lot more traffic on the roadways when you didn't see it. So it's more of a slow, easy season during a couple of months during the summer, and then it's busy. And then, of course, the winter time is nuts. Because people forget, especially after the first snowstorm, they forget how to drive in the snow.
Oh, absolutely.
And EVs, so many people with the new Teslas and EVs, they drive differently in the snow because there's so much torque. You can't hear your engine revving if you're sliding, right? Because there's no engine.
There's no engine.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you don't hear that. You don't get that same sense.
They don't have the sound deal going through it.
No.
They don't match your accelerator.
Right.
Because I heard that's what those have, is they have the speakers actually emit some type of sound.
It's like a hum.
Yeah,
it's
they've
like a
started
hum.
to, but I don't think it changes with speed.
No, it's not the same. No,
I mean, maybe the motor sound, but just because Danielle and Tyler just got that one, whenever they show up, I just know they're there because it's whatever space age sound.
Right.
I don't think it's louder or faster with
I
speed.
think you can change it though.
It's still not the same as your engine revving when you're
right.
trying to get out
the
of
whole
snow
feel
or
of
something
the
like
car.
The
Exactly.
vibrations, all that.
And that acceleration, that torque is completely different in an EV than it is in a nice car.
Yeah.
I've been driving a Chevy Volt for the last 12 years. And so it's the greatest of both because it's an electric car with a generator in the front. So imagine having a Tesla and carrying a Honda generator in your back. That's basically what the car is. So it's a great technology, and I'm surprised that GM stopped making them. But it has it has those issues.
Yeah, we from our industry, Jason, we think a hybrid is the way to go.
Yes.
In all our trucks.
I'm getting BD's attention.
Oh.
So yeah, I think the so we'll fill you in a second, Jason. What these guys are doing is kind of funny. It's an important part that we forgot, obviously. But anyway, yeah, the EV, the hybrid is what we think the government and what we should be concentrating on,
right?
Because they've used them. Your technology that you have in that car, the technology that they've had in locomotives, in haul trucks, and all that kind of stuff.
It's been around for decades.
Yeah, and we could take we couldn't get rid of emissions like they do in electric, but we could even lower it some more, and get better fuel mileage and all that kind of stuff, and have that version of an electric truck, and it's feasible.
Yeah.
Right now, an electric truck for us is not feasible.
Totally not. And with electric, especially for trucking, hydrogen is a good way to go. But getting the hydrogen, because a lot of the hydrogen is produced with electricity, and so then you use the double electricity, so so it costs more than it is to use it anyway. But hydrogen is a good option in the future.
Sure. Yep.
Propane is actually, I talked to a guy who talks about propane as being a good option because they can create propane. They're doing a lot of it out from some of the grasses that are out in the eastern plains of Colorado. They create this propane.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and they can use it.
They're growing?
They're growing. Yeah, they're using the grasses out on the eastern plains.
I had never
had
heard
a whole show all about the propane. You look it up. It's just look at Driving You Crazy podcast propane, and you'll see that episode.
Okay.
It's really fascinating. But these are the kind of things that I talk about on my podcast.
Okay.
But yeah, propane is interesting. But hybrids are great, and then there's clean diesel is really an option. So.
I mean, that's where we're at with all of our stuff is the clean diesel. I mean, our trucks are what you have it memorized better than I do, Dave. But from like 10 years ago, we're how much more cleaner than what we were?
We're 98% cleaner than we were 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? And A truck from 30 years ago is equivalent to the emissions of 60 new trucks today. Yeah. One truck. That's
great.
mind-boggling.
Yes.
But like Jim's talking about, when you get to the hybrid, you take, now we're at the cleanliness of what we're talking about. If they could do a hybrid and take that in conjunction with the cleanliness and create the mileage, if you doubled our fuel mileage, on average, when I say we're happy, I mean, of course we always want more, but we expect to get 6+ miles per gallon in our trucks, which car people that don't understand trucks, they're like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. When Jim and I started, we got 3 miles to the gallon, right? We're at 6 now. We're pretty happy.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's a big difference. But if you could do the hybrid, I really think 10 to 12 to 15, totally achievable. What does that do to the world's emissions if that were possible? The jump to zero, we're not there. We don't have the technology. It's not possible.
Yeah, it will happen in the future, but it's just not here yet.
Yes.
And what you're talking about is the hybrid where you have ICE engine or diesel engine and a battery assist to allow it to get better gas mileage, like a Prius.
Yes.
My car is separate because it's always on electric. It's just a generator generates electricity, and actually Stellantis with their Ram trucks are going to start using that technology here in the future because it is great technology. Because I have all the same maintenance of an electric car. So my first factory service was at 50,000 miles. I still I'm at 130,000 miles on my car, and I'm still on the original brakes.
Wow.
So the maintenance is a lot lower.
Right.
My oil changes are every 9 to 12 months. So if you have that kind of technology where you're making generators instead of an ICE engine that don't need all the maintenance as diesel trucks and all these others, and you're getting the mileage benefit too and the electric benefit, that's a good way to go.
Right. Absolutely.
So there are different kinds of hybrids when you're talking about them.
Yes.
Yeah, we followed a company out of Canada that just basically, it's a little diesel generator, and it's just powering the batteries. It's just charging the batteries all day long, and that truck does incredible things because of, like you're saying, the torque and all that the electric vehicles, the wheel-in motors and all that kind of stuff has. Yeah,
exactly.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff if they just let it develop the right way.
Right, let the market take care of itself.
The market take care of itself. Absolutely.
All right, let's talk about what's next.
Well, I know
tomorrow's Colorado's birthday.
Jason, did you have anything before we move on?
Oh, yeah, don't forget Sturgis is this weekend.
Oh yeah.
So watch out for motorcyclists who will be heading up to Sturgis.
Thank you for
that's
that.
what's next.
We did have. We talked about
We're
it.
slacking.
See, look at that. Put that on the calendar.
Yes.
The other thing that we got going on is we have a temporary loadout at Coors. It's just a little bit further down the alley. My understanding is you will not self-load yourself. You got to call what do they call that? The
control room.
The control room to get loaded. So you got that coming up. As a reminder, you got the Brandon Car Show still coming up August 31st, 8 to 12. And I think that's all that's next.
When does the temporary loadout start at Coors, Jim?
I think sometime next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be a big deal.
And the reason behind that is the concrete slab that we're on top of, right?
Yes.
Where the original loadout is.
Yes. The basement underneath.
Yeah, it's breaking. They've got it supported right now by steel beams. I mean, the way the email described it, it sounds scary.
Yeah.
But hopefully it's...
I mean, when they started telling us about not brake checking because of deteriorating everything, I mean, last thing we want is a truck going into a basement.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. No questions from the audience. Safety topic of the week. Use your back window when you're hooking up to a trailer to make sure your fifth wheel and kingpin are lined up. I know if you're used to driving a sleeper truck, the way you would get lined up is you line your fender up with the trailer. But we got this big back window where you could just see that fifth wheel and the kingpin a lot easier. It'll help you backing up and getting hooked up to these trailers.
And I think for that too, Jim, I think something that we run into for somebody that, I can go hook up a trailer because our fifth wheels flop, or they're pinned, but the plate on the trailer flops. A lot of times we'll catch the hydraulic line, the brake line hookups, the glad hands themselves.
Yeah.
You just really got to pay attention. Best way is just ask for some help right quick.
Your load gauge, fitting.
All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So just ask for some help, or there's lots of little tricks. You can put your hammer in there. You can use a bungee. You can shovel, all sorts of different stuff if you are by yourself. But just out the back window and slow. And if you look like you're going to hit something, again, just stop.
Yeah, if you're not used to hooking these trailers up, because you can do it by yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's quicker to do it alone than with somebody that's not good at doing it. If you haven't done it, come and grab one of us. If you haven't done it 10 times before, come grab one of us and we'll be happy to help you and show you some tricks. Tips and tricks from Ray Davis. Safety tips for trucking through school zones. Now that August is here, schools all over are going to be back in session. Though the majority of our time behind the wheel is spent on highways and interstates, there will inevitably be times when you need to take an exit and navigate city streets. That's especially true in large metropolitan areas when you're bound to drive near or through a school zone, like going a back way to Plant 12 coming from Highway 85 and 120th or coming back that way. School zones present various hazards, including pedestrians, bike riders, school buses, and more. So it's important to pay special attention. Here are a few tips. Follow the speed limit. A fully loaded semi-truck going 60 miles an hour needs about 370 feet to stop. That's longer than a professional football field. That's longer than any football field, isn't it? Aren't they all 100 yards?
And if you're going 60 in a school zone, that's another problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, he does say, obviously, when trucking through a school zone, you need to drive much slower. Good point, though, Jason. But the same concept applies. Transporting hundreds or even thousands of pounds, making braking more difficult. The slower you go, the more time you have to react. Number 2, regularly scan all your truck's mirrors. School zones feature lots of moving pieces. There are cars, trucks, and buses, of course, but also school crossing guards, security staff, parents, and the list goes on. Take the time to constantly scan all your truck's mirrors, including the side and rear view mirrors. If someone is in a hurry, let them go around you. Be patient and take your time. It's better to be slow than safe than it is to be sorry. Number 3, try to stay clear of schools in the morning and the afternoon. If you're going to 12 or coming back, take a different route than 120th. You can always plan your route in advance. There are also some general rules that the National Safety Council recommends following when driving through school zones. These rules include never honk or rev your engine to startle a pedestrian, even if you have the right of way. Or if you're in an electric car, then you could do that. Never pass a bus or other vehicle stopped for pedestrians. Never block a crosswalk when stopped at a stop sign or a red light. I want to give a shout out to Big Dustin for the idea of this one, and it's great to see you back behind the wheel. And I believe you can beat Super Dave in that foot race to yard 23.
What about if the kids give you the, blow the horn signal?
I mean, we all honk around
Yeah,
here.
of course.
Yeah.
I had that on Friday. I can't say no.
Well, especially to the kids.
Yeah.
And driving and speeding in a school zone is a double fine.
Double fine. Yep. Hope all is well with the JFW friends, families, and listeners. Remember, safety has no blind spot. Look and lean. Sit up on your stool. Don't be a fool. Much love and respect. Always the Black Sheep, Ray 0013. I do want to address this foot race with Super Dave, and he is not here to defend himself, but I want to see him do it. I did look on my GPS the other day. It's 2.6 miles. Ooh. There is some hills. They're not very steep. But I think Super Dave said with some training he could do it. I'd love to have Jayson Luber come and announce it.
Oh, sure, I can do that because I only run when I'm chased.
You would be in a vehicle.
Oh, okay, I can do that.
Yeah, we'll have the safety vehicles with our strobe lights following them, somebody on a motorcycle, and the cameraman could be watching them run. I mean, we could turn this into...
You've been watching too much Olympics already.
We could turn this into a charity event. Yeah, so...
I'm going to add to that a little bit. Isn't Rich Trumbull the auctioneer, or is that somebody else?
No, that's Clint.
Clint.
That was Clint.
We need him too.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Right.
We don't have a high road hauling.
I want to jump in there on Ray's tips and tricks.
Okay.
And I don't know why this sentence just hit me so much, but it's better to be slow and safe than it is to be sorry. I just hadn't heard that put that way. I love that. Good job, Ray.
I wanted to bring up the place I think of as 285 because you go right past the high school on the way up to Fairplay.
Right past Bailey.
I mean, there's
Bailey.
Yeah, Bailey.
Yeah.
I mean, it was by the high school, right?
It's
I think that is the name of the high school. I think that's in the afternoons and the mornings there, and the way they pull out onto 285 there. I think that's a big deal. It's kind of like the leafers at the end of the year up on the pass. they don't have you in mind. They just have that they got to get back home, or they have another child, or whatever might be going on. And I think, like always when we talk about it, we have to drive for those people because they're not paying attention to what we're doing.
Sure.
And at the high school there, you might have young drivers in the afternoon or even in the morning that the parents are taking and teaching to drive. And especially leaving, they're the ones going to be pulling out. They may not have the judgment you have as far as pulling out in front of that big truck. So it is a great tips and tricks from Ray. I think it's important. It's like mentioning the motorcycles going up
to Sturgis.
Up to Sturgis, up by 25.
I mean, our neighbor Dan here just told us he's going for a week.
Yeah, what did he say? Him and 100,000 of his other best friends.
Yeah, right.
100,000 best friends.
And so I have a story coming up next week about passing school buses, and so the school bus drivers that I talk to, they see a lot of people passing them on their reds, is what they call it, when their stoplight is on.
Yeah.
And so it is super dangerous, obviously. You run over a child doing that, and that's horrible. So, and the bus drivers, the best they can do is try to write down the license plate number, call it in police, and then it's a serious offense. You can spend jail time doing that. So watch out for that kind of thing too, because that's another pet peeve: people passing school buses on their reds.
Oh, absolutely, Jason.
Selfish.
When you listen to your podcast with JR and different, and Jam asked you about funny stories and knowing our trailers and stuff, talking about school zone. One that always pops in my mind is we were dumping down at Metro, and we were on the campus, and I don't remember what material it was, but it was at the end of the day, and the classes were over, and we were in the middle of dumping, so our trailer's all the way up in the air. Yeah. And you have these college students that are like interested in it. I know we're on the podcast here. They're looking up at your trailer, but they walk right underneath your trailer. They had to stop us. We couldn't dump in the afternoons because the college students, young adults, were but they were walking right underneath the trailer, just looking at it, and like,
was it 420?
Exactly. But it was like, come on, you guys, you can't. That's dangerous. You don't understand that we're dumping. So
that's funny.
Yeah, it was just a good
Back
story.
to the school bus stuff too. I've never, driven a passenger vehicle, especially with kids, right, or anything like that. But the truck driver in me would say, okay, if I know people that are going to be passing me on my left, even if I got my stoplights or my reds, whatever you want to call them, me personally, to protect those kids, and I don't know if this is legal or not, but I'd probably shut down the whole road. I would actually, turn my school bus to where you're blocking the whole way.
Because there are certain rules for certain roads, which ones you're required to stop at if you're a regular driver around a school bus. There are some, let's say if you're on Sheridan, where it's 2 lanes and there's actually a turn lane in the middle, right? Mm-hmm. You don't have to stop if the bus is stopped northbound, you don't have to stop going southbound. But if it's, let's say you're on South University, where it's just the 2 lane, you have the 2 lanes, but it's just the yellow line, everybody has to stop. Mm-hmm. So I don't think people know everybody knows the rules. Obviously in a neighborhood, everybody knows to stop. Sure. But there are certain places you don't need to and other places you do.
Right. Sure. Yeah, I think it doesn't matter what I told the story about Metro, college student, but I went through a school zone with the buses, all the traffic and stuff like that with the young kids. I've been going really, really slow in the turn lane, and they were standing on the median. Mm-hmm. I've had the kids reach out and touch the tires on the trailer because it must have enticed them because you're going so slow and barely rolling, and the tire's right there, and they've reached out and touched it.
Or something.
Yeah, reached out and touched the tire, and I'm like, oh my God, don't do that. It's been kids.
Right.
Don't see the dangers.
Hey, Jam, my closing thoughts can probably double as a high road hauling because it's truly not my thoughts. It's an article on grit.
Let's go. Grit don't quit.
So if you don't have since we don't have a high road hauling.
Yeah. Super's working on one yesterday.
So Jason, the gentleman that's missing, Super Dave, that's been with us 33 years now, or 32 years.
Going on 32 in October.
32 in October. So he created our high road hauling. I think Jam, that was some kind of story there with.
I just named it. He just named it. He thought of it. He created it. I just named it.
But he does just an upbeat story about something every week, every podcast. And with him missing today, we screwed up and grabbed one. Yeah. So go for it, Dave.
Yeah, no. So this is an article on grit, and I feel like we run into this a lot. I mean, Jim and I have been talking about this a lot lately. How possibly some younger generations, they always say as you get older, right, the younger generations aren't as strong. Yep. You just the generations before that said the same thing about our generations. And I guess this was just a great article on grit that I stumbled across, and I was going to kind of intertwine it, but I'm just going to read it. And the person that did the article is Barca Herman. She's a speaker, technologist, podcaster, WIT advisor, developer advocate, and this is her article. So this is from her point of view. She says, I was still in my early 20s when it was surprised to learn that one of my colleagues had acknowledged and applauded me for my unyielding persistence. This prompted me to delve deeper into the concept of grit and also afford a tantalizing glimpse into its inherent potential. It made me realize that persistency and stubbornness, in my case, could be a good thing when used wisely. Grit is the ability to keep going despite difficulty or obstacles. It's probably the most underrated human quality, and it's a key ingredient for success. Grit led me to pursue a course of study that my family did not favor. Grit enabled me to immigrate to the United States and exceed all expectations that I had harbored as a child. Grit allowed me to persist despite obstacles and skepticism from others. It has brought about success unlike any other. There is no doubt that grit is essential for success. It can be hard to define exactly what grit is, but here are some characteristics that can help you build it. In this article, I examine grit and share what has worked for me. So our question is, what is grit? Grit is defined as perseverance and passion for long-term goals. It's about staying focused on long-term goals and persevering through obstacles. What characteristics does grit have? Grit has several characteristics, including perseverance and passion, tenacity, and a strong work ethic. It also requires flexibility, creativity, and the ability to harness emotions in the right way. Grit enables us to overcome difficult challenges. When things get tough, we need grit to power through and eventually achieve our goals. If something is important to us, we will persevere no matter what obstacles stand in our way. Grit is a catalyst for change. When we're faced with a challenge, it can be hard to make change, but if we have grit, we can force ourselves to do what's necessary in order to succeed. In other words, with grit, we can become self-motivated and find the motivation to push through any difficulties. Grit allows us to persist in the face of setbacks and criticism. Even when things don't go according to plan and we hit some roadblocks, having grit allows us to stay positive and continue working towards our goals even when things look bleak. Grit helps us learn from our mistakes and become better individuals and professionals. Failure is an essential part of learning and growth. So if we have grit, you will learn from mistakes while moving on from them quickly so that you can move on to the next challenge. I kind of love this part. How can I build grit in my life? Here's my steps to be gritty versus stubborn. So, make sure the motivation is real. The question I ask is, am I going after this for the reasons that align with my goals? A shy person might not want to scream in a crowded room, but if they were helping a hurt child, they might forget that they are shy or the room is crowded. When the motivation is strong, most people overcome their objections. One way to connect with your motivation is to cultivate self-discovery. Keep the focus on the long-term goal. How many times is it okay to fail while achieving something? For Edison, 1,000 fails were acceptable to create the light bulb. This kind of determination might be tricky, but can be cultivated. One way of developing grit for me that works as reframing. Are you just staring at a screen and typing randomly, or are you solving an awesome problem while learning to do something cool? Finally, if you do realize that you're not in alignment with your values and your motivation, walk away. Grit only works if you have true commitment to your goals. In other words, you cannot fake grit. Then what are the benefits of having a grit personality? Having a grit personality can help you achieve your goals, overcome challenges, and find success. It can also help you to stay motivated and improve your skills. Grit helps you stay focused and committed to your goals and stay optimistic even in difficult situations. It also helps you to be flexible and creative with your approach to tackling difficult tasks. Finally, having grit can help you learn from your mistakes and become a better version of yourself. Moreover, there is an exhilarating reward at the end of perseverance. Savoring the sweet accomplishment of striving and reaching success is a remarkable experience. Over time, one becomes more tenacious as they attain stringent objectives. As such, it only grows with diligence and experience. In conclusion, grit is essential for success in any field. We hope this article has helped you understand what grit is and how to build it in your life. And then I added what Jam said when the podcast started: grit, don't quit.
It reminds me of John Belushi in Animal House. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? No. Yeah. When the going gets tough, the tough get going.
Right?
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
Jim?
Yeah, just right quick. And again, it's kind of funny how the high road hauling, or what we're talking about, falls into place. But ran across a little quote, and the guy was, said it's from Henry Ford. And then I found it kind of funny because he's like, Henry Ford, you guys all know who Henry Ford is. It's the guy that, created the cars. Like, nobody knows who Henry Ford is anymore. And I'm like, well, I know who Henry Ford is, so it must mean I'm getting old. But anyway, an airplane takes off against the wind, not with it. And I've never thought about it that way, that there's your grit.
Right.
You can't do it with the wind. You have to oftentimes do it against the wind, or whatever you're practicing, do it against the wind. You're going to get pushback. So everybody needs to have some grit and take off against the wind.
Yeah.
Just keep pushing. I mean, that's exactly what an aircraft carrier does, Jim. Is when they're about to have air ops, they turn into the wind.
Right.
And certain speed, obviously, also. But
yeah, absolutely, JR. Yeah.
Jason, you got any final thoughts?
No, thanks again for having me. I appreciate it. This has been great.
Thank you for being here.
I really appreciate it.
You've been.
I have a lot of respect for what you guys do every day, and so I appreciate it.
We appreciate you. I remember the original article on Channel 7. Somebody mentioned Channel 23, and then you gave the breakdown of what that is and CB channels, and I was just like, who's that guy?
Right. Stood out for us.
Yeah, stood out. Definitely didn't expect that.
Most of the traffic people that you see on TV, they want to do other things. I like transportation.
Right, yeah.
Well, thank you for having me back.
You're passionate about what you do, and we appreciate you coming on. So hopefully we get the Jayson Luber bump, or maybe you'll get the Channel 23 bump. You never know.
I'll get the 23 bump.
Yeah, Joe Rogan, he ain't going to have nothing on you. So don't forget to like and subscribe to the Channel 23 podcast. Hit that follow button. Also, don't forget to go back and listen to episode 72 to help find Amber's mom. Links to her story will be in today's show notes. I'm going to put the link to your podcast.
Okay.
I'm going to put the link to your Facebook page in the show notes as well. And then, that's it. Thank you, everybody. And
I want to do it a little different this time.
Let's do it.
And change it up a little bit.
Uh-oh.
So, Jason, do you happen to know what a challenge coin is?
Isn't that where you give it to, like, law? Is it law enforcement, or
usually military law enforcement?
Right, they give you the coins. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have a handful of them.
So we have challenge coins here. Okay, that we created for ourselves, and in the past we've given it to our guests, and we usually do it off the air as such.
Yeah, right.
So our challenge coin is, we have a leadership team, and then we have some other challenge coins that we do with our silent warriors is what we call them. But our leadership coin here says, find a group of people who challenge and inspire you, spend a lot of time with them, and it will change your life forever. I believe, or we believe here, you're one of those persons that will change our life forever. So
I appreciate that very much.
We'd like to present you with this challenge coin.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, that's really nice. Thank you.
Thank you for being
that's
here.
Beautiful.
And like I said, we usually do it off the air, but I wanted to read that. I think that's important to have somebody that has your background and understands what we do.
And it has a compass on it.
It does. Yep.
Always pointing to north, right?
I'm not gonna lie. I saw the challenge coin there, and I thought he was about to challenge us, and I'm like, "Not today, Jim. Not today." What? You don't have your coin on? Oh, no, I do. I took mine out. I saw him, and I'm like, "Nope, I am not giving up $5 today."
That's funny.
So if we ever show up at the station,
I know I gotta have it. Yeah. There you go. Thanks a lot.
Not every guest has got that either, and I was just going to give you a T-shirt. So that's pretty cool.
Those too.
All right, yeah, we'll hook you up. All right, let's say the creed and get on out. And right up there is a face and overcome all that stands before us. Together we are accident free. Together we joyfully create honest value for those we serve. Together we celebrate our differences and respect those with whom we work. Together we are accountable for our words and our actions. Together we are the JFW family. All right, everybody.
Have a great week,
thanks.
everybody.
Have a great week.
Have a good one, guys.
I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-looking for another load. Well, it's a family tradition, any Rocky Mountain day. Our fathers before us showed us the way. We work for asphalt cowboys and concrete kings, but that's never been a problem, 'cause we got diesel in our veins. We've got diesel in our veins. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. I hear there's a couple million tons to move. I see them everywhere. So you best get out their way and watch that sand and gravel disappear. There's another run to make. We gotta get it there on time. And we got what it takes to lay it all out on the line. We'll lay it all out on the line. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks got the best drivers in town. They got all the tools they need to keep that hammer down. When they hit them scales, they won't need to dodge them, won't need to duck them. They just keep that hammer down, and they keep that diesel trucking. Keep that hammer down, and keep that diesel trucking. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-looking for another load. They just keep them doors a-closed, keep them butts in their seats, 'cause those customers are calling, and those red trucks can't be beat. They've gotta put the hammer down and pick up another load. Get it off the ground, keep them eyes open and on the road. Keep them eyes open on the road. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. Breaker 23, anybody got a copy on that Channel 23 podcast? Welcome, and thanks for listening.